Hello, hello, hello. Hello, we are live with MPL India Chess Tour Leg 3, Day 2, and I have GM Srinath with me. And it's going to be an exciting day today, chat. How do you feel, Sri, about today's day?
Really excited, Sahil, especially the first game of the day between Nihal Sarin and Vidit Gujarati. Two
Ooh,
of the favorites
fire.
of the competition. Exactly. I'm not sure if many people can imagine fire when they hear the words Nihal and Vidit, both off the board and on the board. But it is going to be some kind of a combination of fire. I mean,
Yeah,
some kind of combination that brings fire. It's like minus into minus is
yeah,
equal to plus.
yeah.
Like solid into solid is equal to fire kind of equation.
Yeah, but the thing is, these are guys which are very, very, down to earth and calm off the board. They will never, you'll never hear them trash talk or anything. But on the board, as we saw
Have you
here, we
heard
know
with
about
it?
Nihal. Let's see how it progresses. But on the board, these guys just go for it. We know about, and they're very. Nihal is very tricky, by the way. We have to be careful. He will never lose hope. He will always come back in that second last round. I remember last time, yeah, he came back from the dead basically to set up a very interesting match. So, and VD in great form as well, leading the event. He would like to continue and also defeat his, one of his major challenges, because once you defeat somebody, you also wipe out your competition.
Absolutely, Sahil. And one of the major disappointments of the Olympiad, the one thing everyone missed out was a clash between India 1 versus India 2. And if
Yeah,
that clash happened, it was Nihal against Vidit on the second board. So in a way, we are getting something, some
yeah, yeah, yeah.
compensation for that.
Yeah, well said. And you know what? The thing is, this is rapid chess, so we'll get the result faster. It'll be much more fun to watch. Maybe 4 hours is sometimes can be tiring for many people, but I think this will be very interesting. And I think it's time to look at the standings first, just to see where everybody is, and it'll give us some clue about which players are leading. And Shri, what do you feel looking at the standings?
Uh, Someone, Aradhya in the chat actually pointed out that Arvind is very underrated, Sahil, and I completely agree with that. Look at
Oh,
Arvind in joint lead with Vidit and Nihal. I think clear pre-tournament favorites, but Arvind is right up there, and I think these three players are a bit of the primary favorites, and behind them we have Ronak and Abhimanyu. Ronak has been very consistent in all these events. We actually have kickoff in the games, so maybe we should dive
oh,
right
wow,
into
wow, wow, wow.
that.
Let's go. And we have Nihal against Vidit. Now, this is a all intense match. You never know. It might even decide who comes first in this tournament. Totally a possibility. Two very, very strong players here. So, Shri, Nihal with the white pieces. Does he play a normal game, or does he think, you know what, does he modify strategy based on who's playing today?
I think he will play a normal game. Um, Actually, I'm not sure if he anticipated the third move d5 here, Sahil. Usually, Vidit does a lot of Nimzo Indian after knight c3. Nimzo is his main opening. I think the chat here knows Vidit's opening repertoire even better than us. They have seen Vidit play so much. They know Vidit's repertoire. After knight c3, he usually goes bishop to b4, the Nimzo Indian defense, but instead he went for d5. A bit of a surprise there. A normal d4 opening, but a slight bit of surprise. I think I can't recall with it doing a lot of 3d5 here. Bishop g5, c6. Bishop b4 has been played quite a bit, especially by Gukesh in recent times. c6, standard move here. e3, bishop e7, bishop d3, knight bd7, h3. I think to answer your question, they will play normally. They won't
Hmm.
change things too much, in my opinion.
Have we shift the evaluation bars to also their cameras, because their cameras also seem to be slightly into with its scam, maybe, and the bar is also slightly into with its scam, so it feels like maybe that's kind of become that way. So with it today looks much more fresh somehow, and I think he realizes this is an important game. And h3 by Nihal here. Very, very interesting choice. Not developing the knight onto e2 or f3, keeping all options open, Sri. So what is the idea of h3 here?
Usually, for the bishop to go to h2, Sahil, a typical idea in the London system where the bishop resides on f4. But it's a standard thing. Otherwise, also the bishop goes and it's like finding a retirement home of sorts. The bishop realizes it's going to get kicked away with h6, so it finds itself some nice spot, a quiet spot on h2, from where it will be like a sniper. It's going to control this entire diagonal, but it will be very safe there on h2. No enemy piece is going to hit that bishop on h2. So that is one of the primary functions of the pawn on h3. And also another important point to note today, Sahil, is that it's going to be a much good day for VD today. The pairings today are quite challenging. He starts with the black pieces against Nihal, and then he has
Next
white
is
pieces in the
Adhiban.
next game.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
That's crazy.
against the beast. And then he has black pieces against SL Narayanan, who is also, I would say, a bit of a secondary favorite. If we have to order it like that, in my opinion, Vidit, Nihal, and Arvind are like the primary favorites. And I think Raunak and SL are in the are right up there, but just a notch below. And these five players are, I think, some of the strongest players in this event. A bit ahead of the rest, in my opinion. And he finishes off the day with the black pieces against Arvind Chidambaram. So that's going to be another lip smacking encounter. We have 4 very strong games for VD today. Chat, what do you think? Will Vidit be able to keep up yesterday's tempo? Will he be able to keep up yesterday's pace? Or do you think it's going to be a bit more challenging? I think today's field of opponents for Vidit could be right out of the Champion Chess Tour. Nihal would, he's almost qualified to the Champion Chess Tour many times. He belongs there. AD has played the Champion Chess Tour a couple of times. And Arvind, again, should get into the Champion Chess Tour. SL also rightfully would be able to get into the Champion Chess Tour around that strength, 2650, 2700. So what do you think, chat? Is VD going to be able to keep up his tempo? And what do you think, Sahil?
I think this day might even decide it, right? Because he's playing Nihal, he's playing Adhiban, he's playing Arvind, and Nihal and Arvind and Adhiban, all 3 possible winners of this tournament. Yeah, I think so. This is yesterday he played Vaishali, who was a bit weaker on paper. At least there was somebody he could think, okay, maybe I can be a bit more confident about this game. Today there is no such point. Every game he'll have to fight, and yesterday he had 3 whites as well. Today he has 2 whites and 2 blacks, so pretty balanced. And today might be an important day.
Absolutely. If Vidit runs today, he's going to run away with it. He would have unleashed his potential, and no one's going to be able to catch up with him that easily.
Yeah. By the way, do you think there's any chance of Nihal castling queenside here? Will he just sharpen it up and take it to the next level? Or just simple, take on e7 or bishop f4 and then castles in kingside? Which one do you think?
I think castle kingside is likelier. What do you think?
Yeah, I would love it to be queenside, although I think kingside will be played most likely.
But Sahil, first of all, what is happening if I take this pawn? Yeah, this is what I was wondering. Bishop into e4 and knight into... Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, is Arjun playing for Nihal?
I think as far as I have an idea about this sacrifice, there was this game by Carlsen, right? I don't know who it was against where he sacrificed a pawn like this. I'm not exactly sure about this. If I was, I would be a GM probably. But yeah, I saw something like this against
Sahil. As long as recollecting the games of Magnus is concerned, I think you're passing the test if you actually don't remember the game. You're likely to be considered a GM.
Okay. And now Queen A5 check. And here the situation is a bit more complicated. You can't bring the knight back clearly. The bishop on G5 is rather hanging. So King F1, yes. And now black has basically, well, I would say some sort of, well, I don't even know how to call it, development advantage or not really sure. How do you call this advantage though?
I think king safety advantage,
Yeah.
to be very rudimentary about it. The king has been forced out. Also, I'm very impressed with the speed at which Nihal is playing Sahil.
Hmm.
Uh, a year ago, or a while ago, in a similar situation, if his opponent had whipped out knight e4, he was not going to reply in like 2 minutes. Even if I had, for example, shown him what happens after knight e4, he would still take time to try and be sure. He would still take time to recollect, be sure. Now, I think we covered this topic a bit yesterday, but there is a gestation period. Yeah, you try something, you try and make some modification, and there is a gestation period, an interval before that shows up as results. And
Hmm.
in Nihal's case, I can very clearly see that he's making several modifications in his both in his routine and his chess playing style, and it might just show up. It might just show up in
Yeah.
a few months or so.
And I think preparing for the Olympiad surely helped these youngsters as well, right? Because they got to train with like the best coaches, prepare with players like Vishy Anand, Vidit, Hari Krishna as well. So that experience might count as well. And the smirk Nihal gave, not the smirk, but a pleasant smile he gave after winning the medal, I think in the closing ceremony of the Olympiad, surely at the very least conveyed his confidence that he feels he's there, yeah.
Absolutely. Sahil, Nihal has also been deprived. He has also been deprived of, these good results for a while. He's been trying hard but struggling. And a lot of people from outside, they see the struggle, but somehow they think that the players are having fun and go on criticizing. But it's usually the players who have been feeling quite bad about it. And
Hmm.
he has had this difficult time during the last one here when his rating was not really going up by a lot, and although again he's been putting in the effort, he's not been getting that kind of results that he would have loved. So this Olympiad, the plus 20 result, the rating gain had come after a very long gap, and
Hmm.
that gave him so much relief and so much confidence.
Hmm.
So I was there with him in Abu Dhabi quite recently. He went from 2650 to I think 2677, and he was like, "Wow, I'm seeing this after such a long time."
Nice.
He
Yeah,
literally said this
yeah,
to me.
yeah. Nice, nice, nice. That's the human side of Nihal. But I think in this position, being a pawn up, uh, I think both sides require some very, very precise moves. Yeah. So how does basically Black justify his play here? So right now, Queen F5 pins the knight on E4, and you have to defend it some way. So probably taking on E7 first, because I guess there's no other way, right? How do you? There might be some pressure. So Bishop E7 maybe, and then
Yeah,
once you take the bishop, then you have to probably play the knight to D2, yeah, knight FD2 or something like this. But still, it's a bit uncomfortable, I think, this pin. Hmm.
yeah, totally. It's a bit uncomfortable. We have to point out that Black cannot directly follow up with knight f6 because knight into f6 comes with a
Yeah,
check. So Black can't
yeah.
really make use of this pin at the moment. Uh, but even this position, takes, and even this position, there is still
Hmm.
some problems for white to solve here. It's not
Hmm.
so easy to get this king out to safety. But also, Black has a limited period within
Hmm.
which he has to try and show his compensation. So
Hmm.
I'm really curious as to how much the players know at this point in terms of their preparation. If
Hmm.
Vidit has
Hmm.
worked this all out, or if he's just playing totally over the board. But in terms of looking at their body language, Vidit looks so intense, yeah, and Nihal
Yeah.
looks so much chill. He's just yawning there. He's just stretching like a cat, and it
Stretching
looks
like a
much
cat.
closer.
Nice. Interesting. Roasting cats and Nihal both in one statement. Nice.
He has taken on e7, knight of d2 also on the board. looking at Vidit's face, he's certainly not in his prep.
Hmm. And the thing is, somehow, Chad, what do you feel will be the result of this game? Because as of now, I think it looks roughly balanced. But if Nihal can somehow, connect his rooks, put his king on a good square, it's hard to choose what that good square is. Maybe H2, maybe G3, King G2 on a good day. But regardless, if he can connect his rooks, then I think white is simply a pawn up. I think black has this uncomfortable pin on the knight on e4 and the slightly awkward king. These slight elements kind of cause him some trouble. But once he resolves them, which is not too difficult to imagine being resolved, then it's just an extra pawn for white. So Vidit needs to find some precise moves as black.
Absolutely. And Sahil, if I had to, again, if I had to guess, if I had to make a wild guess, I can imagine that this might be a very uncomfortable situation for Vidit. Vidit likes to be in control. Vidit likes to have things under control. He likes to have things worked out. And when he goes out and plays a position on the board, either he likes it worked out or it has to be an objectively equal position. So if he's caught in a position where he's a pawn down with no clear compensation, clear way to play, then I can imagine that it makes with it really uncomfortable. And although that's not necessarily a bad thing, because he can play really strong outside his comfort zone as well. You push him in a position where he has to show his strength, he will show his strength. But that said, if Nihal had a game plan against Vidit, I think he would be very happy with what he has got out of the opening.
Somebody saying Sahil's London system helped me reach 1500 rating in just 3 days from 1800 rating. nice one. You might be just overrated, man. It happens sometimes. Seeing VD for 2 years, VD looks determined like never before. I bet on VD to win this tour. Yeah, I think it happens. Yeah, matlab, as she mentioned yesterday, as I mentioned yesterday, what happens is like earlier VD had been India number 2, 3. Basically it was just a question who will be number 2 and number 3. Now these ranks have come into question, and VD I think is number 4 or number 5 now. So it's like it definitely gives you more motivation to work even harder on your chess. I think competition even among companies, even among sports persons, everywhere brings out the best product in front of the consumer, and that's what's going to happen. And with it, definitely the guy who's motivated to maintain his rank there. So yeah, he's calculating right now 4 minutes behind on the clock, so he has to take care of the clock. This is something I've noticed he sometimes struggles with. He had this match against Eric Hansen, I think, recently, a 2-game match, and there he had this crazy variation of winning position, but then he had basically no time to finish Eric off, and he lost. So he has to take care of the clock. Have you noticed this thing about really recently, Shri? The clock thing?
Yes, Sahil. You're absolutely right. Vidit has, I think, to understand why we can just go back to how Vidit has trained all his life, and he has trained for classical chess. He grew up in an era where people were just trashing blitz and rapid. This is not important. Classical chess is the real chess, etc., etc. And he grew up through this era where the training was largely focused on classical chess. You had a lot of time. Precision of moves was important. You had to focus more on precision rather than practical moves that make things uncomfortable for your opponent. And he spent close to 20 years training this way. He spent most of his life training for a particular format. And then 2020, the lockdown happened. Suddenly, the rug was pulled from under the leg, and people were told that chess is changing. It's becoming more of an e-sport. We are going to have the Champion Chess Tour. We are going to have the Speed Chess Championships, and you better learn to adapt to this time control. So that's 20 years of training plus 2 years of retraining, compared to a generation which has grown up playing online blitz. They have been training for it since the time they started playing chess. And I think this is a big reason why Vidit plays the way he plays. His play is a lot more focused on precision, accuracy, finding the best moves. When you have less time, you can't use that method all the time. When you calculate and try and find the best moves, more often than not, you won't have time. Suddenly you realize you have less time, and then you just play a move halfway into your calculation, and it all becomes a mess. So you have to have these different modes of thinking, different modes of decision making trained. Your system 2 has to be as good as your system 1. And that can happen only with, a lot of hours of training.
Chad, we're focusing on this game the most because, after all, this is, well, if you look at the FIDE ratings, you realize this is the cracker of a match. It might well be the decider of the tournament. We might not notice that in the end, but you never know. So that's why focusing most on this game. But as far as I can look at this, the move knight to c3, this definitely seems that somehow Nihal has stabilized a bit because he's gotten rid of one of the problems. The pin is no longer there. He's exchanging pieces already. The queen exchange being kind of, semi-forced, I would say. You don't want to allow white to take on d5, right, and give you an isolated pawn. And then the king is just one step away from the h2 square. So how do you basically create any counterplay here? It does look difficult.
Yeah, the problem for black, I guess, is he played queen g6 with the intention of playing bishop f5, but immediately knight c3, intending to meet bishop f5 with e4. And but this is still possible for black. No, knight into c3, e into f5, and there's knight e2 check. So this is still possible, I guess. And in that case, what do you do against bishop f5? Do you interject knight into d5 anyway because you have knight into d7 check?
Yes. I would. Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah, I want to take on d5 because once the pawn comes to d5, I like this weak pawn on d5. So I would take on d5. Yeah, definitely.
And now some queen c5.
Yeah. And somehow, if I'm controlling these dark squares, there's no queen d6 check now. And now my plan is simple. Yeah, king h2. And once I connect my rooks, once the rook from h1 comes into game, I think I'm just winning the game. Yeah. And then I can read out the knight from d2, maybe to e5. And then I think it's just all downhill from there. So Nihal will not miss those. Once he reaches that situation, he will win the game. So Vidit needs to find something immediately, which I am not sure is available.
Yeah.
Chad, this is looking good for Nihal, yeah, so far.
I also don't see anything immediate for with it. It looks like Nihal is clearly in the driver's seat.
And 12 minutes for Nihal. Look at the clock. Look at the clock, chat. 12 minutes or something on the clock. And Vidit does play bishop f5. I think Vidit could not find anything better. And now Nihal, in an instant, has taken on d5. Wow, crazy. This is going to be a very sharp game. Let's see.
Yes, but Nihal totally in control, yeah?
Yeah, totally. And somehow, it's like black does not have enough pieces. I would love a bishop on d6 or something here. Exactly. Queen c5, your move, Shri, your move. And now the counterplay is running dry.
Yeah, king h2 and rook e1, knight f3, as you pointed out, Sahil, the knight coming to e5. It looks like Nihal is just a pawn up and no compensation for Vidit. Vidit under pressure, both on the board and on the clock, and something has gone seriously wrong in his preparation.
Baked Alaska is asking, is AG playing this? I think we would love AG to play, but I think since the death match, we realized, chess world has already too many controversies. So, the trash talk game, I don't think the chess world is ready for it right now, the VDAG trash talk game. So let's wait for it. It will happen sometime soon.
Anish did tweet about this Indian Chess Tour, though. He said something about wanting to play the Indian Chess Tour, but with it taking his place, something like that.
Exactly. I think the world is not set up for their trash talk as of now.
So, meanwhile, do you think we should have a look at some of the other games now that we have some clarity in this game?
Now it is stabilized. Yes. Maybe we can go to the game of AD against Puranik and see how he's doing, because AD clearly had, I think, one of the most happening days on day one. Like all the games, like you had no clue what was going to happen. And as of now, he seems to be in control against the tricky guy. I would never discount Abhimanyu Puranik ever against anybody, as far as I've seen. But yeah, as for now, he does seem to be in control. And as compared to Nihal, his king is even safer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and to add to that, if we go by yesterday's trend, AD has a history of being tricked, and Abhimanyu has a history of tricking. So
Hmm.
AD is clearly better, a very nice position. Again, pawn up, just like Nihal. And the second pawn is also under a lot of pressure. Everything
Hmm.
going in AD's way, he has more time. But with Abhimanyu, you would never count him out. Except I
Hmm.
counted him out in his game against Vidit, but that was because Vidit had such an overwhelming position.
Hmm.
This is not
Hmm.
as overwhelming advantage as that one.
Hmm. Hmm. And yeah, black is trying to set up these rooks on the queen side. Yeah, typical setup to put pressure on b3, defend a5, but it's like it's somehow too little. Yeah, you have weaknesses on the king side, the bishop on c3 counting the bishop on g7, and if those bishops are exchanged, that also does not help black too much. Your king side is rather too exposed. So I think Abhimanyu will have a very difficult job somehow to come back in this game, but if there's anybody who can do it, he can. And again, Adhiban's camera quality impressing everyone.
Yeah, they have never seen such good camera quality from Adhiban, even when he was streaming on his own channel. So
Maybe
uh,
it's the married glow, yeah. You kind
maybe
of
it is.
shy.
Maybe it
Maybe,
is.
maybe, maybe. So maybe we can have a look at some of the game. Maybe the SL game for now against Ronak, because Ronak is another very, very strong contender in this tournament, and so is SL. So this is an
Yeah,
very,
this would
very
have been
important game.
both core of India one versus India two.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And what do you make of this position, Shri?
Uh, so far, all the games you have seen, White is better, Sahil, and this seems to be in the same direction. You have to love White's position. He's just winning this pawn. He has this
Hmm.
pawn in a uh, literally, he has this pawn in a fixed deposit. He's going to take it, but he's going to take his time to
Gain
capture it.
interest.
Exactly.
uh,
Meanwhile, he's also creating some more weaknesses. Bishop b3. This will weaken the e4 pawn and potentially open avenue for the a rook if it gets opened up. So
hmm.
he's also creating more weaknesses. He has one pawn in the hand, and he's trying to create one more in the bush.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now he's taken the pawn. Raunak is trying to keep his position closed. He's trying to keep it as closed as possible. With c6, he's inviting White to trade the bishop, which White wouldn't want to do because then it becomes harder to get this pawn break.
Hmm.
But White would prefer to break with f3 in the future, so he can trade everything down on the e file. The dark square bishops will come off, and for now, SL has this extra pawn, which is not easy to convert as a passed pawn because you're not getting those breaks easily. But
Hmm.
with the break on f3, he will get access to the e file square, and that will help White trade more pieces in the end game. But I think it's a pretty straightforward advantage for White. Meanwhile, Sahil, an interesting thing, uh, the last leg of the Indian Chess Tour, SL Narayanan was undefeated. He didn't lose a single game. Uh, there seems to be a bit of change in approach for this year of the Indian Chess Tour. He has this leg of the Indian Chess Tour. He's played 4 games so far, and he's drawn only one of those games. So not as solid approach, but he has managed to win 2 out of 4 of those games, 2.5 out of 4, 7 points in tour the tour standings, and a pretty decent start to the first day. It seems like we have lost Sahil for a while now, so have to do with me chat. So looking at going through a roundup of the games, Nihal better with the white pieces, Adhiban better with the white pieces, SL better with the white pieces. Now, these are 3 of the major games, but we also have the game between Arvind Chidambaram against Arjun Kalyan, another important game. Any game of Arvind is important in the context of this tournament. And I'm sorry to say, Sahil, welcoming you back, but it was not a London system. In fact, it started with 1b4. You're muted on Zoom.
My protest did not work, yeah, of no London systems in the tournament. Yeah, it is 1b4. Very interesting choice by Arvind there.
Yeah, 1b4 by Arvind. Only Arvind can play openings like this, and he does it so well, man. Look at after 18 moves, it's such a nice position, good pawn structure. This pawn on d5, the black d5 pawn is a big weakness. The pieces are a lot more harmoniously placed. He wouldn't mind something like knight c2 because he has this move queen a5, so he's not really losing an exchange. And such a big advantage on the clock as well. So it looks like Arvind is set to chalk out another win in this tournament.
Yep. So Arvind definitely pushing. By the way, can we briefly have a look at the VD game? Because Nihal has gained complete control over that game as of now. As you can see, he has control over the C file. His king is exactly where it needs to be on H2. He has connected his rooks. The second rook has come to E1. And he's putting pressure on the other weaknesses now, even though he's a pawn up. So this just seems like a completely winning position for Nihal. And look at the time difference as well.
Absolutely. Perfectly summed up. The knight is also on a dark square, so it's going to be never kicked by the black bishop or any of black's pieces. It's kind of out of reach. But at the moment, Vidit is defending his d5 pawn, and he's like, white has to be the one to show where he gets his what is his next step towards conversion.
True. But I think this is the moment where it's just so hard to play as black because you have no active moves. And even if white just waits and just sticks around, king g1, exactly. Like, or you will automatically at some point make a few mistakes. And now rook c3 played, very, very logical move. He can triple the rooks. He can put the rook on the b file. It's just a very flexible move in general. And what is black's? Would he dare play g5? That is another
very
thing.
Natural move, especially when you have less time.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not sure if it actually would change anything.
Exactly what I was going to point out. I'm not really sure if it would help a lot. So with his reference from it, he goes queen to g5. No threats, particularly on g2. Exactly. And I'm wondering if something like queen b6 is an option. Maybe he wants to follow it up with rook d6, rook g6, try and create this kind of counterplay.
Yeah, not so sure. I think this one is, if Vidit holds this, like it'll be amazing. It looks very, very difficult. Nihal is in complete control as of now. So
yeah, and meanwhile, there's a major happening in the game between Harshit against Divya. Sahil, Harshit came a bit late to this game, and he started with less time. And Divya was totally dominating the game until this point. King f1 was played, and here she played queen f6 pretty quickly. And she was met with this move bishop g5, a shocker for Divya because she has to take queen into f3, and after rook e3, queen h5, bishop e2, the queen is trapped. The queen is out of the game. So she's losing the queen by force. And this is such an unfortunate turnaround for Divya. She was totally in the driver's seat, completely better in this position, better pawn structure, massive time advantage. But with queen f6, bishop g5, she's in a world of trouble. The game has turned around.
Are people seriously putting Vidit and Virat Kohli on the same scale? Well, in respective sports, I'm not really sure if that's true. It's hard to say actually, because Virat Kohli plays cricket, which is a much more money-intensive sport in general, so hard to compare. But I think there's no scale here. We're just looking at the pieces. And I think one person who's definitely not happy with any scale on the board right now is Divya, because with the king on f1, double pawns, she was completely in control. And now her queen is, she has to give up the queen, which is just tragic news, because with the bishop pair and the open g file, now white is just going to win this.
Yes, and meanwhile, we also have a result in the SL Raunak game. SL played Rook E3 and Raunak had to resign at this point because
Oh,
Rook H3 is unstoppable.
so this is the move I mentioned before I got disconnected. Yeah, so very risky move. You get cancelled for this. So this is the kind of move you get cancelled for rookie three. Yeah, so very dangerous move played there by SL, and Black also got cancelled. Yeah, he resigned. He had no choice. So don't play rookie three today. It's cursed.
A
Anyway, so
powerful game by SL,
uh,
though. A powerful game, and with this win, it's an important win. As Raunak, one of the contenders in this tournament, one of the top favorites, and SL moves ahead. We are also in the end game in the Adhiban Puranik game, where Adhiban has increased his advantage and he looks to be in the driver's seat.
hmm, hmm. True,
Things
true.
haven't gone well for Abhimanyu in this leg of the Indian Chess Tour. Sahil, he's usually among the favorites. He's usually, always at the top. But he still has a very decent score in this tournament. But by standards, he usually has a winning streak by now. Here, he has been quite streaky. He has had 3 whites in the first day. But one loss against Vidit and a very edgy win over Shamsundar.
Yeah, but I think it's like considering how tricky he is, you never lose that somehow. And even right now, look, he's constantly setting up little threats, yeah, forcing the opponent to think. So if you take on f7 with the rook, then bishop e5, and if knight takes, then bishop d4. So setting up always keeping your like putting up the maximum resistance. I think that is what basically helps you. So let's see how it progresses. I think AD should convert this, but he must have also looked at AD's games yesterday. And you know what? When you're playing online chess, I think the first opponent you have on the next day, I think you're the best prepared for that opponent usually. So it's like I'm sure he's looked at AD's games and seen that AD has made a mistake in a couple of games, so he will still back himself to create some chances, maybe.
Completely agree with you. Meanwhile, a major happening in the Nihal Vidit game.
How did this
Uh,
happen?
it happened at this point. Nihal played f3 and Vidit was like, let's go. Bishop into f3, j into f3, queen g3, queen e7, queen into f3, check king e1. This is the present position that we have. I have a feeling that this piece sacrifice, it was a desperado.
Ooh. Nice.
Can't
Yeah, Shri.
can't imagine a lot coming out for black out of this because white's king will be safe on d2. I think the knight will protect it from e2, and black's rooks they aren't fast enough to create counterplay.
But right now the threat might be something like I'm not sure what the rook is. Rook f4 one of the threats here, and
Oh
then rook e6,
yes.
and then rook e6. Like I'm wondering, like rook f4, queen d6. What does like queen f1 and rook f2 something like?
Actually, it's still not a threat. I think to make a random move.
Hmm.
This queen is attacked, so
Oh yeah.
you try and escape with a check, but again the queen is attacked. And queen
Hmm.
g2 check, there's queen e2, and rook
Hmm.
e6 check, queen into e6, queen h1,
Yeah,
king d2, pretty
yeah,
much the
yeah,
same line.
yeah.
So even if I make a move like a3, there's still not a strong threat for black
Hmm.
here. And with white, I'm likely to try and make king d2 work, but maybe there's some rook into f4. I'm, it's hard to believe in this, and
Hmm.
also it's an option to start with. You still have to be careful. You still have to make a couple of precise moves, but
Yeah,
um,
knight is the best defender of the king. Yeah, so if you can somehow make it work, that would be awesome. Knight e2 definitely, yeah, one of the moves. But
yeah, it feels wrong because you are kind of handing rook e6 on a platter. I'm sure Nihal must be able to come up with a better defensive move that defangs white's threats, black's threats.
hmm. Chad, what do you think? Yeah, by the way, 55 seconds for VD. That is the thing, right? So let's say there was some circumstantial, there was some variation here which won for VD. Like there was some forced variation, we gave him a draw or a win. He would not be able to find it 50 seconds. I think that's somehow been a consistent problem. So I hope he can work on that. And for now, Nihal is trying to come up with the best variation, the easiest way where he doesn't have to spend like 20 more moves in this game. And VD also trying to use Nihal's time and to come up with the best move.
Yeah, trying to come up with the best move. I think Nihal will take a bit of his own time here, and try and come up with a very safe defense, because why not? He does have the time, so he can use it up. It's not like it's going to get carried over for the next game.
Yep.
But this was a bit of an unexpected thing, to be honest. I was expecting a draw in this game, Sahil.
Yeah, true. It did feel like there was enough compensation and somehow. But yeah, it's like White's plan is simple. Yeah, you somehow bring the king to h2 and then connect rooks, and black has to be the one to kind of find those
Yeah, no, out of the
passages.
opening, Nihal got a really nice position, but in general, before the game, if I had seen this matchup, Nihal against Vidit, I'd have wondered how either of them were going to beat either of them, because they are both so incredibly solid. They both lose so rarely. They have quite a. Oh, wait, Queen E5, and it's the bar doesn't like it. What is happening? Is there a twist in the tail?
Chat, do like the stream because the battle is firing up and he has played the best move, Rook D6, and Vidit is completely winning. How? How did this happen?
He missed it. Nihal just missed Rook E6.
Oh my god. Oh, it's completely changed.
Vidit Sahil, he missed this, I think. I think he just missed this.
But why wasn't this working earlier? We looked at this, right?
So we looked at this with Rook into F4, with the addition of Rook into F4.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Oh wow! So now Nihal screwed up, chat. That's why creating pressure always. Let's go. Let's get to 500 likes, chat. Let's go. We have 600 people watching. Let's go. Oof.
Wow! What a turnaround! What a turnaround this is! Oh my god!
Oh man, that was insane. It's like chess is hard, man. Chess is hard. Chess is so hard. Nihal missing tactic is so rare.
He had to go king d2. He had to go knight e2.
Yeah.
Either of these two moves. He goes queen b8 check, king h7, king d2. But now this can actually be a win for Vidit.
But now what do you play? I think you need to quickly maybe give a check and then bring the rook to f3. Yeah, put pressure on e3 before white kind of stabilizes. So every move.
Yeah, I don't see the move for black right away. It doesn't feel like it's winning for sure.
Yeah, somehow.
Is it something like queen f2, knight e2, and just rook f3? Yeah, just rook f3. There's no way to defend e3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Vidit is going to win this one.
And you know what the thing is? He's finding all those moves in seconds. Yeah, and he's like, he's seen all of it. He looks very, very focused.
Yeah, these are not difficult moves for Vidit. Straightforward moves. He's just playing 10 seconds
fire in his eyes right now.
It.
Like, look at the fire in his eyes right now. Oh, it's like, I want your king. I don't want pawns now. Give me the king. He wants his king now.
Vidit getting one back against the juniors. Yeah, we have seen a lot of games where the opposite happens. Vidit is completely winning, and then something happens like this. But it would be pretty pleasant feeling for Vidit to have won the exact opposite.
But okay, it's is there any sort of defense here? So because I think somehow the problem now is the black king is now so safe that it's somehow impossible to create counterplay, and white has no ready pass pawns. Yeah, pawns are ready to go, right? And there's no such pass pawn either. So yeah, when there's no counterplay, usually you end up suffering.
Yeah, if he could if he had one more, if he could defend the e3 pawn somehow, then the position is completely winning for white.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have that. I don't think there's any good defense for white here. He could maybe play something like, I don't know, rook c2, rook into e3, queen into e3 check, king d1. He could go for something like this, but maybe just rook into e3 here instead, yeah? Because king d1, there's queen f1 check.
Yeah, rook e3 looks much more convincing. Yes.
Yeah. So it's all losing for white. And it's just one of those unfortunate instances where you play a whole game well, one bad move, and all the hard work goes to waste.
Vinogupta making a clever comment, but I think that's a bit more difference because there's no engine in general for controversies, but there is one here. You can always go back to the big the big boss, they're sitting at the top and verify. And here I'm sure the big boss totally agrees that the black pieces look much more active, and the white king is getting in trouble here.
But this is massive, Sahil. This is massive in the context of this tournament. Nihal winning a game, Vidit winning a game with the black pieces against Nihal, one of the other contenders. This is a massive step forward for Vidit and a massive step backward for Nihal in the race for the championship.
Oof, now it's yeah, the
We
king.
have a few moves. Nihal's still fighting on. He went queen into b7, decided to give up the piece. The king goes to b1, and the game goes on.
Do we interpose queen e4 check here just to kick the king forward and then take on e2?
Makes a lot of sense. You want to try and push the king out here and then take on e2, so the king remains exposed.
So what's the material situation here? So black is a pawn up, I think. But I think it's at the end king safety, yeah?
Yeah, king safety. With it taking his time, calculating out the necessary intricacies, and he took queen into e2 check.
He took directly, okay. Now
Yeah,
king b1. So at least Nihal's king is safe now. So I'm not sure it gives him any chances though, because now I can just chop off d4, and yeah, he just took the pawn. And once d4 is gone,
then I take on f7, no?
True. But then
maybe there's something stronger here. Queen c2, something like this.
Oh, wow.
Queen c4, maybe?
Never ready to give up my queen. I like to avoid it as much as possible, but yeah, it's possible. It is possible.
Queen d2, and the bar gives some hope for Nihal here. Vidit has only 17 seconds. Once again, he's gone below on time. It's almost like seeing the old style of Nihal with its time management. But rook b1 and now rook e1, it was with its idea. a3 creating a luft for the king. And this queen endgame should be again completely winning for black.
Yeah. But this is very important, right? That you not always try to checkmate your opponent in any sort of attack. Like sometimes just getting a couple of pawns is enough, and really not really trying to force checkmate there. By the way, AD has also won his game against Puranik, so he also continues a very eventful tournament. Raja has also won his game against Divya. So 3 wins for the white pieces here. And this is an all-important game. So does he chop off the d4 pawn and give up f7, or does he do something else, Sri? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he has to do that, but he will gain some time first. A few repetitions, then take the d4 pawn. And then he will put his queen on this diagonal because you don't want to allow this perpetual check with queen f5 and start pushing the d pawn.
Chat, so you have a like button in front of you. Do click it. Let's get to 500 likes quickly. You know what? Let's go. This will be a ching noise sound effect here right now. After I put up this, no, there should be something like this. Ding.
Yeah. But chat, do hit that like button so more people tune in. And what an exciting turnaround in the big game, the Nihal Vidit game. Oh, in fact, Vidit goes for king g6. He doesn't take on d4. I thought that was a pretty straightforward win, but Vidit trying to be super safe, not giving opponent even an element of chance, not giving him the slightest of chance, taking his time, going for the precise approach, getting his king out, which is also a possible technique. You bring the king forward, not keep it behind. So you escape from the potential perpetual checks. And it also buys some time for Vidit to think in Nihal's turn.
And somehow, it's like whenever you start pushing these pawns, you create more and more holes for perpetuals. So at some point, you will have to move the king. I think it's almost, I would not say it's impossible. It's very unlikely that your king will sit on f7 without any single check. And you will simply queen your pawn. Nihal will not let you do so. So with this kind of preempting that. And now he will constantly give these checks to gain a few seconds here and there, and then to push one pawn, then give a couple of checks, then push one pawn. Like, it's torture to play these positions, yeah.
Yeah, it's very annoying for white. But Nihal has gone into full bullet mode. He has gone into this fight back mode. He's playing these moves quickly. He's playing. He's just. I'm not highly convinced with its
Yeah,
conversion
yeah, yeah,
techniques so
yeah.
far, Sahil. There are now these two pawns on the other side, very unadvanced, very far away. But I think Nihal can keep giving these problems for Vidit to solve, like Queen C6, for example.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, he goes for Queen C6.
And
He had
yeah, 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 Shri.
I would have preferred if Black just earlier took on d4, played the queen to e4, and started pushing this pawn.
Hmm.
I think that was just simpler rather than get the king to g6, pawn to f6. It doesn't feel like it has helped Black's cause.
And the
And
thing
now
is,
maybe,
somehow, yeah, the a pawn is running. And the thing is, in queen endgame, sometimes the number of pawns don't matter. I mean, if I put this white pawn from a3 to a6, suddenly it's black who's trying to fight for a draw. So it's like, number of pawns sometimes cannot matter as much. And this d pawn is much more easier for the white king to come to d2, for example, in a hypothetical world, than the black king to stop the a pawn. So the kings are rather in white's favor as well. And if the a pawn runs, then black will might even have to, and he doesn't even have a draw check anymore, right? There's no repetition for black either. So Vidit has to be very careful on how he converts this. A single move can make a difference between a win and a draw, and then a loss and a win. So he should be very, very, very careful here.
yeah, and with its strategy is to start pushing this pawn. So he's
Hmm.
put the king h5 on a very safe square. And for Nihal, the problem is he can't go a5 because there's queen e1 check and queen into
Hmm.
a5. So after a4 and f5, he's stuck here. Black keeps advancing his f pawn, and white doesn't have a similar way to advance. So instead of
Hmm.
a4, he had to go b4 here. He had to advance
Hmm.
this pawn, and this would have created some potential counterplay, but this weakens the white king
Hmm. Hmm.
badly, and it's also a very dangerous situation to be in. So I think with it pretty much back into the driver's seat, and the f pawn is just too powerful. The queen cannot fight against both the d and the f pawn
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. And imagine after b4, yeah, having four queens on the board, and then having your king on a1 without any pawn cover. So I think b4 is not a human move at all, right? It's very difficult to play, I think.
Yeah, true. It is not a human move, especially in this time control. I think
Yeah.
Nihal has to go some king e2 here. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He goes for it. And yeah, I think VD just pushes the pawn, I guess. F4. Or which I think the F pawn looks the one you want to push, but then you'll have Queen G4 ideas. But I think this is one check, yeah.
yeah, and this is just one check. The king is
Hmm.
quite safe here.
Hmm.
So
Chad, Chad, do you think there's any twist here, or is it all over for Nihal? What do you think, Chad? Very exciting game. Both players have around 10 seconds on the clock. That's it. With only like a 10-second increment, it's not much of time.
f4, a5, f3 on the board, and
Okay, will we have four queens? Will we have four queens or not? Three. Do you think we'll have four queens? I don't think so, yeah?
Vedit doesn't want four queens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He shuts. He just wants to queen without letting Nihal queen. After
Hmm.
f2, I think it looks over. No. Oh, no, no,
Yeah.
no. It's the queen f7 check and queen into f2 check. So you
Oof,
can't play f2.
oof, oof.
Instead, he goes queen f1, queen e2, and now f2. The pawn will be protected.
Yep, yep, yep. King c3 now. And again, even if we have four queens, I think somehow it's again going. It's like the white king is much more open, even if there were such a scenario.
Yep. It will be checkmate in one or two moves.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I think with it has this. It's game over.
yep, yep. Nihal, I think, knows it by now. And if queen f7, there's king h4, and the black king is actually very safe on h4. So the white queen on e2 controlling all checks. And yeah, he gives the check, king h4 now. And now, yeah, he is going for the queen. But I think even if he does queen, I think it might not be enough.
It will certainly not be enough. Is there a easier way for black here? rather than f1 queen.
I don't see any way to bring the king to that diagonal, so I can check, but I don't see it, right? Yeah, he just queens. He just queens
Yeah, he just
directly.
queens and takes on h3 with a
We
check.
could not see 4 queens on the board for even a single move. Okay, I'm mad now. I wanted to see 4 queens for at least one move. Yeah, it's just a picturesque, sight to see 4 queens, even if you could have taken on next move. But yeah, now it's maybe he'll have it now. Maybe he'll have it now. It's still possible. The B pawns runs now and the G pawn runs. Maybe it's a story. Yeah? It's an arc again and again. Pawns keep queening until they all run out of pawns.
Yeah, I'll not burst your bubble, Sahil. I'll not just like how I do it when I praise the London system. I'll still
Okay.
entertain
I have
that
hope.
it is possible.
Yep. But I think now again, the white king is the problem. The black king is so much safer, and extra 2 pawns not only are potential pass pawns, but also shields. So it's kind of difficult to form any sort of perpetual here. Somebody is saying
Yep.
साहिल भाई एक क्वीन संभाल लो. अरे भाई एक भी नहीं है ना, हम तो क्वीन कर ही नहीं पाते यार. We are not able to queen somehow. And here people have 4 queens. Okay, king a3 now. So but you can't even push the pawn as white. So it's like, yeah. So it just looks over. Yeah, he just pushes the g pawn now.
Yeah, now king to h3.
Stalemate tricks, I think it's very unlikely stalemate tricks would work because the kings are so open. There's so many moves for either side. It looks very unlikely stalemate would work. But okay, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. You
And
never know, but I was just thinking what a big win this is for Vidit in the context of this tournament. And I feel pretty strong, pretty confident that Vidit will take this. He is going to convert this. He's too strong for this sort of an endgame. And although Nihal's still fighting on, but I think Vidit is going to take this one. I have absolutely no doubts. And what a turnaround! Yesterday you were talking about this drop catch that Virat had in his recent century, and I think this is a very similar moment. A drop catch.
Yep. And he utilized it really well. Yeah, really well utilized. And Shri, I know but I can see the point on the 5th rank. I see 4 queens possible. I'm still happy. Maybe, just maybe. You never know.
You never know. And still the game is going on. It's still it's not like the pawn is queening in a couple of moves. With it once again down to below 20 seconds, and if he goes something like h4, then there was a danger of there are still some tricks that black has to navigate through here, Sahil. Like if he had gone h4, then after b6 the g4 pawn is hanging with a check, and now it's the same thing with g3 and b6, queen into b6, there's queen into d5 and queen into h5. And if you don't take the b6 pawn, then how are you going to queen? So still some minor things to take care of for Vidit here. Nihal probably has to go b6, but I think the thing is even this position, queen into b6, queen into d5, king g1, even this should be winning for black, I think.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure though.
I think the black queen is on the perfect diagonal there at least, and the king is uncomfortably placed because they're always intermediate checks. And he plays b6, and he takes it. He simply took it. Although,
yeah,
chat,
and this should be winning.
Yeah, but sometimes we cannot even trust the the online engine sometime. Yeah, because there's some long perpetual you never know, and I wouldn't. Queen f5 check first. Now.
Yeah, but the thing is, these things are nightmare to defend as white. Because there's so many of these checks, you can't possibly defend this with seconds. You can't calculate all the checks, and you end up losing by some check or another.
By the way, an update on all the other results in this round. All the games have finished. Leon has drawn against Surya. Raja defeated Divya. Mitrabha has lost to Kartiken. Arvind defeats Arjun Kalyan. SL Narayanan wins against Ronak. Adhiban defeats Puranik. And Shyam Sundar won against Vishali. So a comeback for Shyam as well. But this game was the star game of the round. And now we have only one pawn on the board. And, even if these queens are drawn, as Srinath correctly mentioned, it's so difficult to defend, as the guy who has one less pawn on the board.
Yeah, so difficult to defend. You're going to fall for some check. It's not easy to understand where you want to keep your king as well. Generally, you want it as far away as possible because, you want to try and avoid perpetual. So not a perpetual, but you want to avoid one of these interposes from the queen, which comes with a check, like king f1, queen d1, queen e1 check.
E1, yeah. And that's why the king should be in a corner, yeah? So I think in the center, it's always subtle checks. But regardless, I think I would still give Nihal some chances here, right? I mean, because you never know about these endgames. You just never know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know for sure. And these 6-piece table bases positions always a bit complex. All the queen endgames, actually.
Is this Lucena? This is, well, close. Very, very close, I would say, but not exactly. I think you need rooks on the board, but very close.
Quisina. Because it's a queen endgame.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we have almost 1,000 people watching. Wow. Chat, do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So we have more people coming in. And this game has truly lived up to its expectation, no?
Yeah, and Vidit, I'm mentioning this for the third time, but I saw a comment where VD mentioned he's trying to turn into Vidit 2.0. And this is, well,
there we have the second queen. At least you have 3 queens.
Oh, we have queens. We have 3 queens. Okay. I think this is pretty much marketing, at this point, because we wanted 4, we had 2, but now we get 3. So that's pretty appropriate.
And look at Nihal setting himself up for a stalemate of sorts. Yeah, he's just putting that doubt in the opponent's mind. Now, after queen, if white passes and the black queen takes on g7, it's a stalemate.
Yeah. But I think now now I just, I think there should be no chances here. I think this is over. One extra queen.
Yeah, because this queen will come to c2 the next move. Queen b2, queen c2. And then there is no more stalemate. You just have to make a couple more moves and ensure that there is some sort of a check with an interpose. But this is entertaining. I do remember
1,000 watching Shri. 1,000 watching chat. Do like the stream. Let's go.
Okay, I do remember, I was losing in one of the online games, and Nihal was like, no, wait, don't lose off. Try the Rosen trick. So he's literally going for the oh no, my queen. And his queen isn't.
Nice. Queen v1. I think this should be clipped somewhere, I assume. Queen v1 check, and the king has to come to e2. Beautiful, yeah? Beautiful.
With it is like, no, thank you. But going for the Rosen trick, steadfastly trying to save this game. He doesn't want to give up that point so easily. Vidit has to earn it. He has to play it fully. He has to go through all the Rosen tricks, and finally he'll get a chance to move his queen now.
Yeah, now it's there's no check apart from queen e6 and then queen h4 as well. I apologize. On an open board, there are many checks available.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I think we are going to have the start of the next round in a few games. This game is going to go on, but as always, we'll have the start of the next round. Only the opponents of Nihal and Vidit will have to wait. In this case, Adhiban plays black against Vidit in the next round, and Nihal plays black against Shyam Sundar.
I think it's time to resign, right? No? Because now queen h7, queen g6, and queen h3, queen g4. So now I think it should be over, I guess.
I
He
guess.
plays king f6. He plays king f6. Okay.
Still a couple of more moves.
There is 50 moves rule, yes, but I think it's far, far away. I think sometimes it can seem quite a number of moves because both sides are playing, but 50 moves is a lot. It's a lot of time.
Yep. Meanwhile, Sahil, I'm compelled to point out this is 2-0 for India 1 over India 2. India 2. Yeah, India 1 over India 2.
Interesting.
But
Okay,
still, the game is not over.
Yeah, let's bring the queen to g7 now. I think it's time. It's time we bring the second queen.
Really? Would you risk that? Oh, yeah, right. Queen g7 and no more checks, you're saying, yeah?
And then queen g6, it's over.
Yeah. But if I could give another check and if you're not able to...
Yeah, true. True.
Then I...
Yeah, queen g8. I was thinking of it.
G8.
I was literally thinking of this move. I'm not kidding. I was literally thinking of queen g8.
Queen g8 and finally Nihal resigns.
Nice. Because you know what can happen? You can sometimes just click on the queen and then the king can take it in online chess. You never know, right? So it's like, yeah, very, very interesting idea, the queen g8, and Vidit has finally won the game against Nihal. So yeah, great comeback by Vidit there, yeah?
Absolutely. With the OP for this game, or he did get some slice of good fortune going his way, but that's part of the game. It happens either ways, and when he got that one sliver of opportunity, he out of it. And what an important win for Vidit in the context of this tournament.
Shri,
but
the crazy part is the fun is only starting because Vidit's next game is against Adhiban.
Yes, and Vidit is still not in the sole lead because Arvind Chidambaram is also up there at the end of 5 rounds. Both Vidit and Arvind with 13 out of 15. And look at Arvind's openings once again. He started with 1 b4 the previous round with the white pieces, and now 1 e4 knight f6, the Alekhine defense.
Yeah.
This is how he started with Ronak. And Ronak is someone who plays a lot of Alekhine defense himself with the black pieces. At least pre-pandemic, he used to play a lot of it. But Arvind on the other side of it now. And Mitraba, who was amongst the top till yesterday, lost the first day of the first game of today against Karthika and Murli, who had lost all 4 games yesterday. It's amazing what a bit of break can do to rejuvenate you.
Yeah, true. And Chad, the VD game will start in just a couple of minutes because they have some rest for the players. Meanwhile, looking at the game of Ronak against Arvind, Arvind as well, both one of the favorites to win this entire event. And Ronak here having the white pieces after losing the previous game, I think, if I'm not mistaken there. And this will be a very, very important game.
Absolutely. A pretty nice position for white out of the opening, but also solid for black. This is going to be a bit of challenge for Arvind, I would say, Sahil, because Ronak can be quite solid. He can pretend to be solid in the sense that there are situations where he knows that his opponent is going to try. They're going to, push, take a bit of risk. And in those situations, he's happy to let them take that risk. Not by playing for a draw, but by playing something quite solid where he forces them to take that risk. And this has been a strategy that has worked well for Ronak on several occasions in the past.
And maybe if we could by chance have a look at the standings as well, that would be awesome for a brief second. It will be very, very interesting. As you can see now, chat, VD and Arvind both winning and basically stretching their lead to 3 points. That is a big deal, Shri, I think.
Yep, a big deal. And this has been kind of the trend in this tournament so far. I think 1 or 2 people just run away with the momentum, a few consecutive wins. The momentum is a very important part of these tournaments. It's a bit like an arena, you have to get these streaks going. You get a few wins, you get the momentum under your belt. It really puts you in a strong situation. And if you're someone who is clearly stronger than the rest of the field, you have a higher chance of getting that momentum going.
True.
Like for
True.
instance, imagine you're VD. You're probably one of the strongest players in the field, if not the strongest. And it makes it easier for you to get on these streaks because there are some games where you're just going to win by playing at your best. You don't even need that slice of luck going your way. And you take those chances, then you get a bit of good fortune going your way. That's like the unstoppable combination.
Yep. And although it's difficult to imagine MVD, yeah, it is rather difficult, but yeah, I agree.
I know.
And by the way, look at the space he's gained, yeah, in the queen side, in the center. But now Black should probably aim for some sort of pawn break, right?
Yeah, ideally so, but e5, it's also possible to meet with some c5 and d5, perhaps.
True. So maybe
Possibly.
bishop c7 first before e5. Before e5, bishop c7 and preempting this kind of.
Yeah, this is possible. But in general, it feels a bit nicer for white, although the computer is firmly... Oh, e5, c5 did happen in the game.
Oh, wow, it did.
Oh, no, it didn't.
No,
I'm
rook
sorry.
c8,
Rook c8 was, yeah,
rook
c8 happened.
Yeah, maybe he wants to put the bishop on b8, yeah? Maybe that's the idea.
Yeah, also there are some a5 and a5 related options here, in which case the c file might see some action. In that case, the rook is useful on c8.
True. Meanwhile, maybe we can have a look at the game of Divya against Leon, and then we can, by then, probably Vidi's game will also start. Looks like an interesting setup here with b4 on the board.
Yeah, another job over London from Divya. If it makes you feel any better, it did start with d4, d5, bishop f4.
Okay. I'll take it.
But then the third move was knight c3. So, but at least she didn't start with two knight c3 and then go bishop f4. So she has some kindness towards you.
True. But then now what? I think Black's position does look fine though, right? Because she can take the bishop on g3 whenever he wants, Leon. And then after b4, this diagonal seems to be rather uncomfortable. So for example, bishop f8 is kind of screaming to be played. And then I can put this bishop on g7 and the bishop on g3. Even if I just keep it there for a while, it cannot really help the queen side now. So this diagonal might be a problem, right?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. You can start with bishop f8 or bishop e7, do the same thing. He goes for bishop f8, in fact. And the advantage of such an opening, it does make your opponent think in the opening. It does put them a bit out of their comfort zone, but the disadvantage is it can also get you into a very suspect position. And I think there are at least two people on tilt now after the previous round. One is, of course, Nihal. After that loss against Vidit from a completely winning position, but also Divya, who was again completely dominating, but ended up blundering her queen against Harshit, and that would have been very tough for her.
Yep. Yeah, chess is very popular. With Elon Musk tweeting about it, I think it's going in the right direction. Although I'm not sure the content of the tweet was what we wanted, but let's see. And the other games have not yet started, right, Sri? I think Nihal's and Vidi's games have not yet started, or have they?
No, they have not yet started yet. They're not yet started, and but we do have a couple of French defense in Arjun Mitrava and Vaishali Ganguly. We have a couple of these French defense games, and there's also the game between Abhimanyu and SL Narayanan in this round, which is also quite an interesting matchup. They both are quite good friends. They have played a lot against each other, and Abhimanyu was part of the India 3 team. They played each other in the Olympiad as well. SL is in the third spot right now. He has had a few good wins. he didn't have the best of starts. He lost in the first round with the white pieces against Surya Ganguly, but since then he's been on a hot streak, and he's also someone to watch out. And I quite like the position he's got out of the opening. Looks very comfortable. He has the required space on the queen side. He has a light square bishop, which his opponent doesn't have, and a slightly inferior pawn structure because of the pawns on c6 and c7. But his pieces more than compensate for it.
True. And after b4, I think, would you have played b4 here? I just felt somehow the pawn on a4 was kind of a weakness, and you kind of exchange it off now.
Yeah, but I think he wanted to counter the space advantage that it creates. And it was not so easy to access the a4 pawn, not easy to bring another piece to attack it. So I think that is the reason why he went for this. But having said that, Black's position is really harmonious. You see how this bishop on e6, it controls the light squares, and then he's put his pawns in such a way that it controls a lot of important dark squares. And pretty good harmony for Black.
Yep. And by the way, SLS used literally almost no time in this game. Yeah. So, and Abhimanyu somehow had a very tricky start, and now he has had a couple of losses. So he would really want to win this game with the white pieces, right? And as you mentioned, he gets a lot of worse positions, and there's only so many you can come back in. So sometimes having a better position might be better as well.
True. Meanwhile, we have kickoff in the Nihal game, Sham against Nihal. Nihal has started with e4 g6, d4 the modern defense, which you predicted yesterday from Nihal, but it happened today. And Vidit has made its first move against Adhiban with 1c4. Adhiban hasn't yet replied.
Chad, do you think he'll go b3? Now it's unlikely, but
why?
Okay, now if you have to maintain symmetry, okay, it's impossible. Yeah, okay, we're going to get some.
I don't like this opening from Black.
I hate playing
the Leningrad Dutch. Sorry,
I even hate playing against it, to be honest. It's just weird to play against usually, because Black has this plan. Now d6, queen e8, knight somewhere, e5. I just hate this plan. Facing this plan as well. Like playing it and hating it.
Oh, I love it. I have quite a few games with the Black and the Leningrad Dutch. It's basically King's Indian, but with the pawn on f5. Weakened version of King's Indian, I would say. It's a perspective thing. Some people might say it's an enhanced version of the King's Indian, pawn on f5 instead of f7, or it's a weakened version of the King's Indian defense. But it's objectively not a great opening for Black. You have to. And Vidit seems quite well prepared to face it as well.
Yeah. And Anonymous says, my only game against Hikaru is in a Dutch. The same line, I think. So I assume you don't like it too much either,
yeah? Yeah. And in recent times, so Vidit and Adhiban have played lots and lots of games, being age group rivals. But I think the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic world, it's almost like it's a good division to have, because people kind of reinvented themselves during the lockdown. They had a big break. A lot of things changed, and in the post-pandemic world, they had this epic matchup in the World Cup in Sochi in the third round. That was one of the most interesting matches in the whole World Cup. Vidit came out on top. He prevailed over Adhiban, but it could have gone anyway.
Yeah.
And ever since the pandemic, whenever AD has Black against Vidit, he has always gone for one of these sharp variations: the Benoni, the King's Indian, the Dutch. It's based on some kind of a psychological understanding of Vidit, that Vidit is uncomfortable against these setups, and Vidit was a bit uncomfortable against such openings in his childhood. I remember we played in one of the national juniors in 2012 or something, and Vidit offered to draw after something like 7 or 8 moves because I had played a Benoni. and he didn't feel comfortable with the
I thought
position.
stomach issues maybe. Okay, okay.
Well, maybe stomach issues, but that was caused by the opening.
Okay, okay.
And not the food. So it used to be a component of Vidit's play, but two things. Yeah, first of all, uh, the better the stockfish has got, and the better computing power that we have, we understand more and more how bad these openings are for black,
Hmm.
and that's one thing. Like we have Benoni for several years, but Stockfish 15 is just merciless against Benoni.
Hmm.
And we are constantly finding new ways to play with white. So there are openings which used to be dubious and computer says it's not so dubious. And then there are some openings which were dubious and computer says, no, it's terrible. It's not just dubious, but just don't play it. And
Hmm.
I think some of these openings have acquired that status after the improvement in Stockfish's levels. Uh,
But
Also, with
but Shri,
it over the years,
really sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, but do you think that computers tell us to not play these openings because maybe they think they're really good and we'll end up beating them? They just don't want to get beaten in those openings. That's why they tell us not to play them. Maybe, maybe 50 moves down the line, it's just winning for white, and they're like, "Don't play this. This is really bad."
yeah, I wish humans can get that strong. But yeah, I think over the years, Vidit would have definitely improved his understanding in how to handle these openings. But that said, AD is the one who is out prepared Vidit, and Vidit is the one thinking first.
Hmm. Hmm.
Although that
And
shouldn't surprise us
yeah,
anymore by
yeah,
this point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the lead in the tournament is up for grabs right now, and Chidambaram and Viri both leading. So clearly, this is an important match. H3 by Vidit, trying to get the bishop pair he takes.
Yeah, because ideally, as black, you have sacrificed the pawn on f4, and the first preference is to be able to recapture it with the knight on f4.
Hmm.
So that is why AD started with bishop g4.
Hmm.
But with h3, Vidit forces him to take on f3, so this h5 square is under control, and this
Hmm.
knight cannot count to h5. So I think Adhiban goes for the next thing, which is to get his knight onto e5.
Hmm.
And this is the clever strategy by Adhiban, I would say, because it's clearly the type of questions where he excels, regardless of the objective evaluation. AD excels in uncompromising positions where he can create a fight. He's not the guy you want him to sit solidly and defend a slightly worse position. Instead, he's a counter attacker, and for Vidit also, I think this is perhaps one of the more uncomfortable positions according to his style.
Hmm. True, true. And well, here I think somehow it's, yeah, once knight comes to e5, then it's always going to be there, yeah. And the only question is like, how do you like somehow solidify your king maybe, and what do you do about your minor pieces? For example, the bishop on c1, the knight on c3. So I think I'm just wondering, where do you put these pieces for now? So,
I would love to get this knight onto e6 off the
hmm,
straight off my head, but you wouldn't be so kind to allow me this. Yeah, maybe
hmm,
knight e2. You might play some g5. I'm wondering if it's such a bad thing though, because these light squares, it's really inviting. I just captured the. I mean, white just captured the black light square bishop, forcing bishop into f3.
hmm,
And this has opened up the e6 and f5 square. So if you go g5, then the f5 square becomes weak. Otherwise, that's the e6 square. So these squares are really inviting for the knight.
hmm, hmm. And one important question is, what happens after bishop f4? I think that's one thing to look at, just to briefly see. So if bishop f4, so I think, do we like take on e4 just somehow, or do we do something
Yeah,
else?
take on e4 or d5, I think.
Hmm.
E4 is also possible, but I was just wondering two things. One, this bishop goes to some. Oh no, wait, I'm just blending the Right. I got overdosed on strategic aspects that I just.
Yeah, it happens to me. I think when you're used to making blunders, I think for me at least, I am very high on strategy, and then I'll always explain it somehow. Yeah. I mean, I think it happens, but usually strategy is very important. It's the most important element in your improvement.
No, I think tactics is,
Yeah, for sure.
because this is what can happen when you have all these brilliant weaknesses and then you just blunder a piece, then it's pointless. But yeah, knight into d5 just feels better because here the knight is on c3, but here this knight is on e4. So one extra tempo. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So I'm just thinking knight e2 off the top of my head. I don't know if it's the best move here, but this is what I would try to make it work with calculation.
And I hope V doesn't take too much time, because as we can see again, his time is almost half, of AD's time, and that might again cause an issue later on. So as we saw in the last game, he barely survived. Yeah, it was only moves. He found them in the time pressure, but it can be difficult.
It can be difficult, and if I had to choose, I would always prefer to have more time than my opponent. I think that really creates pressure that dictates. Meanwhile, we have a draw in Abhimanyu SL game. We are just in time to catch it. A quick draw here. And SL moves on to 11 points with that. But, he moves on to, he moves on to 11 points with that. Still in contention, still an arm's reach away from the leaders. Also, we have some pretty exciting action in the Roundup. He went 92. He went 92 and took knight into f4. And queen g5 check. Sahil, AD is still playing instantly. Do you think he's still in his prep or he's bluffing?
Playing super fast, yeah? He's playing super fast, like no time at all.
It looks like he's prepared specially for Vidit. Right. All the years of friendship helping him predict what exactly Vidit will do.
Yeah, but still, it's move 15 in a very unorthodox, opening. And he has 17 minutes on the clock now, which is like I don't think I've seen 17 minutes on the clock in any of the games so far, right?
Yeah, neither have I in this tournament. Yeah. How do you feel if your opponent was playing so instantly? How intimidated would you feel?
Depends. I think if he's somebody who's similar rated or lower rated, then it's not a big deal. But if it's somebody who's stronger than me, then I think it pretty much matters on what opinion do I have of the player before the game already. So, that kind of course, if somebody plays so quickly, I think especially if it's a tactical sequence, then I think it's more threatening. But queen g5, queen e7, I think just looks like preparation. Yeah, you play such moves very quickly when you are prepared.
Yeah, you just don't want to allow this knight onto e6 for now. So you condemn it to g2, but with it, it's like, sure, fine, I can wait. What are you going to do? And the thing with knight e5 is white just goes back bishop e2 and he has access to f4 in the future. So that's not particularly effective. AD doesn't take a whole lot of time. He just goes for knight e6.
Sankalp is asking bluff or prep. What do you think, Sri?
I think it's prep. What do you think, Sahil?
Yeah, even I think so. I think so as well, because I think AD with so much time lead would probably think for a while. I think the fact that he's moving so fast hints at it being prep. But let's see. We'll see when he pauses for a long think.
Which will certainly happen. AD style is when he's in prep, he plays fast. But the moment he goes out of prep, he starts thinking. And this is usually the most dangerous phase for any chess player, The first move that you play when you're out of prep, more often than not, happens to be a bad move, an inferior move, because you're so used to playing these best moves, you know what it is. Stockfish has given it to you when you're preparing at home. And then suddenly you have to be on your own. So
True.
especially if you haven't understood the position, you haven't felt it so well, you just know the moves, you know the evaluation, but you're not sure about the position. Usually it happens to be a mistake. So that is the most dangerous phase. And your opponent has already spent a lot of time trying to get into the position, trying to understand it, solving a lot of it just on their evaluation and calculation. They are usually a bit better warmed up by the time they get there. So this is something to watch out. But that is also why people take a lot of time the first move, because they know that there is this danger, this fallacy, and they want to ensure double check, triple check that they have gotten into the game.
Yeah, I think this is amazing. Yeah, for till the next Olympiad, there are going to be so many players. As somebody is saying, my favorite is this player, my favorite is this player. I think the fact that we have such choices, it's just crazy how strong Indian chess has become. I think it's kind of become in a situation where we can literally feel like, I think there was this quote made by somebody for the cricket team. We could have like 2 or 3 cricket teams and still win tournaments. And I think that might actually be more true for chess than cricket.
Although I can't remember the last time we won a cricket tournament with even one team.
Okay, I would not comment on that. I would not touch cricket at all. I think bad things happen sometimes. But usually, I think for chess, for sure, I think considering how strong teams we have, we could literally like field 2 and 3 teams and still have.
We
like,
did do that.
Yeah, we did do that actually. Yeah, true. And the fact that it's only getting stronger is awesome for India.
Yep, it was quite heartbreaking. I was right there in the Gukesh Abdusaturu game. I was watching the board, and at some point it became clear that India was going to beat Uzbekistan. We were 1-1, and we were winning on 2 boards. Prag was going to beat Sindro. He had this endgame, and Gukesh was in a position against Abdusaturu where only he could win. And I was watching it, and I felt so happy that wow, we are getting gold. And what happened was unbelievable. It all came down to that one game, those few moments, and India too played so strong in the Olympiad that bronze was such a disappointing result in the end.
Yeah. That's how hard chess is. No, that's what I say. Like in tennis, for example, in cricket, you get a wicket. You can bowl like 4 bad balls, get a wicket. That wicket is yours. That one in the wickets column, it cannot go away. Whatever happens, you can always say, I got 1 wicket. I got Sachin out. I got somebody else out. I got this guy out. But in chess, you can play perfectly for 5.5 hours. You can win an opponent's queen, and literally even then lose the game. Like it is a genuine possibility. So that is definitely one aspect of chess which is definitely hard.
Yep, absolutely. It's I think it's one of the few things where such heartbreaks can happen. I remember this particular instance vividly, the 2019 World Cup, when Nihal was playing against Eltat Shafarli. He won the first round with very convincing play against Corey from Peru. And in the second game, second round, he defeated Eltaj in the first round with seamless play with the white pieces. With the black pieces, he faced Ivan's Gambit, found the best moves over the board, and was completely winning after 30 moves. And then somehow, inexplicably, the piece was right in front of him, and he just blundered that. With that one loss, the whole World Cup was completely spoiled for Nihal. He just couldn't recover from that. Chess being an individual sport also makes it harder, because in a team sport, you make a blunder like that. Someone else is bowling the next ball. Someone else is bowling the next over. You drop a simple catch, you get run out. Someone else can come in, You don't have to bear the brunt of it. But in an individual sport, it's a bit of a harder challenge when you make a blunder to stop the domino effect.
Yeah, it's always you. Like you cannot put the blame on anybody else. Yeah, it's always you when you blunder. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even blame the coach.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the bad part. Oh, nice. Now I understand. It took me a little while. It took me a while. It took me a while. Now I understand.
Meanwhile, the bar has started going towards the black direction, Sahil. Although
Hmm.
with its moves has been very logical from the beginning.
Hmm.
He wants the e6 square. He plays the bishop on g4, the knight on f4. The knight had to go back to g2, but now it's getting back. But despite playing all these natural moves, the most logical moves, Vidit has fallen behind a bit in terms of the evaluation bar. And this is the moment which we was waiting for, where AD starts to think his first move on his own. And he already spent a bit of time in the previous move, but knight c5 was again a natural move. The knight went to a6, so it had to go to c5. But now he's really thinking. Now he has to really take a decision. What is he going to do against knight e6 or the bishop coming to e6? Is he going to take on e4? Is he going to play some knight f6, some knight e5? He has a lot of options. He has to make a decision. He goes with knight e5.
Hmm.
But now, what if I do bishop e6 check?
I guess I could just even take, right?
Yeah, take, and I want my knight on e6. But
And
now, do you want some counterplay here?
yeah, maybe even queen h4 ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. This looks quite dangerous. I think this is the danger that Vidit is facing today.
Yeah, the light square bishop somehow defends the king side very well, and once it's gone, then the king is kind of alone.
He goes with knight e6. Computer doesn't like that.
Hmm.
I guess for the same reason, yeah. Here you're getting this bishop to e6, king. Oh, but here white wants some f4 or what? But then you lose a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
things here.
yeah. VDS less time. Yeah, he has less time. Although it's not critical just yet. I think if he can exchange a few pieces, that will really help him simplify the position a bit. And by the way, e6 taken, bishop e6 check, king h8. And now I think he has to go for f4 though. I just don't see.
It's too dangerous to allow knight f3. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it completely cuts your position in two parts. Yeah. So maybe giving up c4 is the least of the problems.
Yeah.
Uh, by the way,
But Vedith has lost control here.
yeah, for sure. For Karthikeyan apparently is completely winning in a bishop endgame. Maybe we can have a brief look at that endgame. The king is slowly creeping into towards f6, and yeah, black doesn't seem to have any clear counterplay. Huh?
Yeah, this looks a bit similar to the Mitraba Surya
Yeah,
endgame from yesterday.
yeah. That bishop f5, I think we saw yesterday.
Yeah. Except that the time situation is the opposite. Karthikeyan has a
Hmm.
minute left, but
Hmm.
he's very good at end games in general. Karthikeyan is very good at solving, and he has composed quite a lot of end game positions as well. So
Hmm.
this is his USP.
Hmm. Yeah, this should be
He's
this should be winning most
oh,
likely.
meanwhile, Sahil Vidit has allowed the knight to f3.
Oh wow, he has. But
Yep.
now I think maybe king g2 then, yeah, instead of king h1.
Yeah, King G2 makes more sense, but nevertheless, it doesn't make it any less carry for white here.
Yeah.
Now black tries to. He's actually thinking after knight f3 check, which again is a very bad sign because you're expecting knight f3 check, so you're ready with the response. But
Hmm.
he's thinking after this, king
And
to h1.
and after king g2, do you play something like h5 to not allow the bishop to come back to g4? Because otherwise bishop g4 and I try to kick your knight back.
I wouldn't rule it out. I think it makes sense from a strategic perspective, but he's gone king h1. He didn't go king
Hmm.
g2. King
Interesting.
h1 and now I think queen h4, which you initially suggested, because bishop g4 there will always be h5. You can play bishop h5 after bishop g4, so
Hmm.
you don't need to do it now.
True.
And after queen h4, I think Vidit must be intending some rook g1 because it's better to give up an exchange rather than allow this knight on to stay on f3.
Yeah, two bishops definitely always some counterplay. Huh? Always. But still, this looks very, very. Vidit is shaking his head. I think he does not feel he's comfortable at all.
Yeah, something has gone seriously wrong. He has lost control. And the two games that happened after the World Cup between Vidit and Adhiban, from my memory, one was in the Tata Steel Rapid with Adhiban with the white pieces. He played an opening novelty and got a better position against Vidit, but didn't continue well. Lost the game. Then the second game was in a champion chess tour game, black pieces for Adhiban with the King's Indian defense. He clearly brought Vidit out of his comfort zone, but he didn't manage to win that one again. He made some inexplicably bad moves towards the end and ended up losing that one. So AD has got two better positions against Vidit, which he later went on to mess up in their last two games, rapid games. But this time, I think he'll be determined to ensure that there's not a repeat of that. He'll be aware of it and he'll be like, this time I got this.
Yeah, and Chidambaram is having an equal position in his own game, so he might be the one to take sole lead. The first time somebody might take sole lead this event, unless Vidit can come up with another twist here, as we saw in the previous game.
Yeah, that's another feature of these tournaments. Yeah, there are going to be people who are going to be the leaders. It's not going to be like 13 out of 15, and despite setbacks, you do get chances. But you have to be a bit careful with Arvind's time situation. He has a minute left, and he sacrificed exchange. I think he could have kept things simpler, but he chose to sacrifice the exchange at this point, trying to create some play on the dark squares. And Roundup managed to neutralize it by putting his knight on f4, blocking this diagonal. And this is the present position we have where white has neutralized black's threats on this diagonal, but white has a few pawn weaknesses himself. This can go a bit out of control for black though, if white consolidates.
Somebody saying VD did not come up with a twist. Nihal messed up. I think people mess up all the time. I think if you and I were really good at catching people when they mess up, we would be like 2,700 right now. So our rating basically at some level at least basically is to catch our opponent's mistakes. Yeah. So it's like to play rook d6. Rook e6 was an interesting idea by VD, but this one is definitely looking a bit more difficult. I think there at least it was Nihal's king which was in the center, and that's what VD could take advantage of. But right now it's VD's king which is actually under stress. So that is the main issue.
Yeah, and actually, your opponent's play is largely influenced by how you play. It's easier to play a perfect game against a weaker opponent when you're not under a lot of pressure on the board. Your play usually gets bad because of the kind of problems your opponent creates. Now, I see a lot of people commenting on the mistakes people make against someone like Gukesh, someone like Prag, but they kind of provoke these mistakes. They create these mistakes by creating that pressure on the board, and that is why it happens.
Yeah, the fact that Carlsen blundered a piece against Prag twice tells you that past experience and how much respect you have for your opponent also plays a role, because I have not seen Carlsen blunder a piece in 2 games against anybody. So yeah, if you're stronger, definitely that helps. I think how many people would have blundered a piece against Carlsen purely because he's Carlsen? I think so many. So I think that definitely plays on your mind.
Completely agree with you. Meanwhile, keeping a watch on the tilt, Divya is completely lost against Leon with less than 30 seconds. This is the position they have on the board, and this A pawn is going to queen this time. The A pawn has been Divya's nemesis. H pawn has been her ally with all those H4 moves, but the A pawn has been her nemesis in this tournament. And Nihal against Sham Sundar. We have this position. Sham has scored his first win after a very difficult first day, and things are looking up for him in this game as well.
Yep. Looks like a very decent position.
But how do you rate it practically?
Yeah, it's like again, the time pressure situation never seems to, be comfortable for Nihal's opponents. Like, look at the clock situation. And I always think, how is he doing this in every game? I think, is this like intentional, or is it just Nihal has become so good? Yeah. What do you think, Sri? Like, because every game there's this huge difference on the clock.
Yeah, no, he's always been good, but I think he's kind of inverted his time management. Usually, he used to accelerate when he was low on time, and I think it's a conscious effort from him to start doing it even when he has more time, so he doesn't get into that chronic time trouble. And what happens after bishop to d4 here?
I guess you. Bishop d4.
Can you just cover it with knight g5?
I thought queen f1, but there is apparently some queen f3 ideas. Yeah, I assume. And then rook b7
Yeah.
and then rook b7, and I don't know what's happening. I actually don't know.
Yeah, this is also not clear.
Yeah, looks dangerous.
But also you can start with bishop and d4. But long story short, I think Nihal is in a world of trouble here. And Sham's in the driver's seat. By the way, a massive twist in the Raunak game, Raunak Arvind. Look at...
How did this happen? Wow. So Arvind is
bishop g4, bishop into g4. He just... What? Oh, he blended queen into f2.
Oh. Yeah. Queen sacrifice. It happens all the time. And now you have rook and two bishops. And you know what? Even though, the ace and pawn is weak and so on, I think this is just lost. Yeah, this is just lost. Two bishops, rook, very, very strong.
Yeah, so Arvind in the driver's seat looks set to notch up another win here. And meanwhile, the only person who can stop him, Vidit Gujarati, is under the pump against Adhiban. It's a picture of domination for Black's pieces here.
And now you can see, chat. The thing is, the f pawn is blocked, so that means the rook on e1, the queen on c2. These pieces cannot connect with the king side somehow. It's very difficult for those pieces to come to the king side. And
Arvind has won, Sahil. The game just got over. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. He just won. With rook d3, Raunak resigned.
That's a huge upset, because Raunak was definitely had some chances there, and he would definitely be disappointed with that result.
Absolutely. That changed quite fast.
So Leon has
Divya has also lost her game. Yeah.
Karthik has also won against Raja Harshit. That's also one more result. And all the remaining 4 games, it's like one side is completely winning. Vaishali is winning against Surya. Mitrabai is winning against Arjun. Then you have Adhiban winning against VD, and then you have Sham winning against Nihal.
That's also a massive upset, by the way.
Yeah. He's placed knight of g5, by the way. He went for your line.
Yeah. Knight of g5 is super strong. And I think now it's just a straightforward win for white, because the queens are getting traded.
Yep. And so many pieces of black hanging, and the king on f8 looks so awkward. So it's like the queen trade is kind of possible. The bishop on d4 is hanging. The bishop on b7 is hanging. It's just too many pieces. So, and if the queens get traded off, then it's just, I just take on e2 with the rook, and you have too many pieces hanging there.
Yeah, it's a tilt effect.
Yeah, Nihal, by the way, losing 2 in a row. Okay. Very hard to believe, actually, to be honest. Very, very hard. Not a good start to day 2 for Nihal. And I think this is what happens. Yeah, pressure applies equally to everyone. Once when you're winning, I think everything is flowing your way. You're confident. You try out different openings. You don't care for the world. But one bad decision, you lose that game. You get to a tilt. You start playing awkwardly in the next game, trying to force a win somehow. It's not there. You end up losing that game. And third game, you don't even trust yourself, and suddenly it can go down a downward spiral. So I think I think I remember it was Sergei Karakin who once said, like when I lose a game, I try to just take a draw in the next one. I know Carlsen says it constantly. You know what? When I lose a game, I come back and win. But he's Magnus Carlsen. I think it's not easy for him to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also depends on how you lost the previous game. For Nihal, it was certainly very upsetting. A big tilt. He was beating, he was outplaying Vidit, who was one of the major contenders, one of the top favorites. And if he had won that game, it would have put his tournament position in a really nice spot. And we all knew that was going to be the game to watch out for. And to lose that game from that position, I think it was majorly upsetting. And yeah, it was same with Divya. The way she lost it from such a dominating position, it upsets you even more in these situations where you know that these chances are so rare. Like it's so rare that you get into such a situation against Vidit that you want to make the most of that situation. You want to make the most of that opportunity. And similar with Divya, the tournament is going to be difficult for her. She got this wonderful opportunity against Harshit, and losing that would have really put her on. It's the scarcity and the abundance thing. When you have something scarce, you feel so upset when you lose it.
True. But here for VD, I think this should be just over. Yeah. I mean, I just take the exchange on E1, and then I maybe even just play Bishop D4, exchange your defender. And then how do you hold on to everything? It just looks very difficult.
Yeah, it's a buffet of options for black. Yeah, he can take on E4, he can take on E1. As he pointed out, Bishop D4, Bishop H6. Probably not Bishop H6 because you're leaving this diagonal open, but Bishop D4 for sure. And is there something even stronger, or is this all?
I think
knowing
that's the choice,
he would go for mate rather than material.
Yeah, true. You're right. I think he might just take the pawn on E4, yeah, or something like this.
Yeah.
Even by the way, Bishop E5 ideas looks interesting. Just to put the bishop there and then prepare some maybe knight F4, I don't know, and then get to H2.
Yep.
The
So
bishop
many
on
options.
E6, bishop on E6 right now is like, I'm holding on, guys. He looks like Spider-Man in any sort of movie, yeah, holding on to those two bridges, yeah. I think when it gets divided, either buildings or a train or whatever it is, he's holding on to the position, the H3 pawn, but it just looks too difficult.
Yeah.
By the way, Nihal, Nihal has taken on E2 in his game, and after Sham has taken back the queen, and it does seem to be a position where I think Bishop E4 should be played now. I guess it's almost not exactly forced, but should be played, and then White should be better.
Yeah, and Nihal has actually collapsed completely. Yeah, he spent all his time. He just can't find a move.
Yep.
He is psychologically, I think, collapsed completely.
Yeah, he's looking at. Yeah, he's not happy with this position clearly.
Now he has to make a move.
Okay, I mean,
Sham had a very difficult miss in one of his previous games yesterday against Abhimanyu Puranik, but I think he would have woken up from that experience and be a bit extra careful not to repeat it today.
Yeah, now you should be careful. Yeah, not take with the G pawn, I guess. Otherwise, suddenly, Nihal, tricky. Yeah, I mean, these guys are very tricky. Chat, can you find the move now? What does Black play? What does Black play to come back in the game? You can see how you and I, at least I would personally definitely have some chance of falling into this, especially if I had like maybe 30 seconds on the clock, easy.
Yeah, by reflex. You see something, you capture something, and instantly you get tricked.
Yeah, here so he's still not captured. Did he captures with something? He captured,
He took with the knight.
Yeah, pawn takes would have allowed, I think, bishop e4, right? And then the g5 knight cannot capture back.
Yeah.
And then
check.
Yeah, lose check.
But
So,
instead, Sham goes for knight into f3 and bishop into e4, takes bishop c3, and now the rooks are coming off. Also, it's coming off in a way. Sham has to capture the b6 pawn, or there's still a risk of it going towards a draw. But I think he has to play.
yeah, just taking the rook. I'm not sure which rook do we take with though.
I thought this rook, because this can go to b8. There's still a risk of a draw though.
Yep, yep.
Oh, by the way, the game is over. Vidit has lost against AD.
Oh wow, Vidit has
Vidit
lost.
has lost. Yeah. Vidit has lost, and that's a major result once again.
Yeah.
With that, Arvind goes into the lead, the sole lead.
Yep, and Vaishali has defeated Surya as well. So, and lot of results in this. Again, only one draw, yeah? Only one draw out of 8 games. That is very high win rate, no? That's not normal even for rapid games.
Yeah, but it has been a feature whenever you put such a field, where not everyone is elite, not everyone is rated close to each other. It's a mix of people up and coming and people who have established themselves. And Nihal resigning there, so Sham Sundar getting, I think that must be a major win for Sham.
Yeah, he must be really happy. He must be really happy with this win, and kind of well deserved as well. So the standings, they're going to be very, very interesting to look at now, because we have had 7 out of 8 results in this round. And look at this, Arvind Chidambaram separating himself from the field yet again with 5 wins and 1 draw out of 6. That's very impressive, Shri.
Absolutely, Sahil. He's continued from where he left in his previous tournament, the Dubai Open, and also the previous leg of the Indian Chess Tour. What an amazing performance! And his games have been all clean so far. He didn't have to rely on his opponent's blender for any of the games. He didn't have to do any such thing. His games have been clean, seamless. He's just outplayed the opponent after some pretty interesting openings as well. Beating Raunak like that.
Yeah. And the thing is, you have VD and Adhiban right there. So, you have Chidambaram there. But then again, I would say, it's like they are still youngsters. But, I think many people nowadays expect youngsters to always win. But VD and Adhiban showing that they are right there at the top. Yeah. Although VD suffered a defeat in this round, I think that lead at the start really helps you stabilize. You still are in the mix.
Yep, absolutely. You're still in the mix. And what a opposite story for Nihal today, starting off with 2 losses. Both the games that you wouldn't have expected to lose. But again, the tournament showing what it can do to you, and the cruel nature of the sport as well as the format itself.
Yeah. And I think round 3 will start in just, 3 to 4 minutes. So do we take a short break, Sri?
Yep, let's go in for a short break. We'll be back soon. But meanwhile, do hit the like button and stay tuned.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the endgame with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
I'm ahead of the game. but who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me, I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I'm only ever slinging, I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy, logically, I'm impossibly wanted, and they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm ahead now. Well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game.
Hi everyone, welcome to our new video series. My name is Jan Gustafsson and I'm thrilled to be reunited with fellow Magnus Carlsen's trainers, seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen's head coach, and Laurent Fressinet, Magnus Carlsen's French coach, are both here, and we will be going through the World Championship match 2021. Our experiences with it, the games, what we prepared, where we felt things went well, where we felt things didn't go well. Peter, we have different perspectives because we were in different locations.
Very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about it because you were in Thailand during all the match and I was in Dubai with Magnus and his non-chess team. So I see some kind of debriefing where we will discuss what was the mood in Dubai, what was happening in the technical department in Thailand, and we got to sort of basically compare notes and get the two kind of inside looks from the match.
Very much so. And Laurent, we are actually in your private home. Thanks for having us.
It's a big pleasure to welcome both of you, and I'm sure it will be interesting to talk to you guys about the match.
Likewise.
So we hope you guys enjoy the series with our behind the scenes insights. See you then.
Hello, everyone. We are back for round 3. And you know what? This match is just heating up. As we saw, hearts can be broken in this game and nothing is left, to the imagination. And after round 6, basically, Arvind Chidambaram is, nobody is surprised. He's taken sole lead in the MPL Indian Chess Tour leg 3. Can we have a look at the standings briefly once before we quickly go to the games? So Arvind right there on 16 points, Vidit on 13, Adhiban on 12. I think it's going to be amazing going into round 3 of today. So maybe it's time to directly look at the pairings or the games, if the games have started.
The games haven't started yet, Sahil, but the pairings are pretty interesting. It's going to be SL with the white pieces against Vidit. And there you see both of them already out there. And there's also Arvind with the white pieces against Abhimanyu Puranik. Both of them of similar age, so that's also going to be an exciting encounter. SL starts with 1 e4. Now they had a few training games, SL and oh no, I'm not going to cover Arvind's game.
What happened with that?
I think we don't need Arvind's game for this round.
Okay. Okay, I was like, okay, is there some beef? Yeah, nowadays beefs are very popular on YouTube, but now I just realized, okay, 1 b3, but okay, he kind of heard you, yeah, and also played g3, so it's like it's a fair decision.
Yeah, but why would he start out with b3? I mean, this is King's Indian, okay? This is like proper King's Indian. White has played the pawn to d4, knight f3, g3, everything King's Indian. But if he wins this, then the credit goes to 1 b3. But it's not in 1 b3 opening. This is so unfair.
It's okay. I think we can sometimes share the credit because you don't see many wins after 1 b3. So I think we can share the credit, pass a bit of it around. We see Carlsen playing Catalan g3 all the time. So it's like it has a lot of wins. I think so. It's kind of fair sometimes.
True. Sometimes it's okay. The Nihal Vaishali game hasn't begun, by the way, although Nihal, then his previous game didn't take so much time, but I think he's getting some much needed rest before getting back to stop the tilt. AD with the white pieces against Sham Sundar, that also hasn't begun. AD, I think, still celebrating his spectacular win with the black pieces. Um,
Yeah.
But Vidit is back out there, and it's an Italian game.
And very important for Vidi not to go into a tilt here. I think he's still ranked second. He's just one match behind the leader. So he doesn't still need to do something spectacular to, fight back or something. That early lead that he had over the others really helps him now to stabilize, to just play normal chess. And that's where he can actually show his true strength as well. The difference in the strength will come out when he plays a normal game. And we have a typical Italian here, which, this is very typical, right? A3, A6, H6, and now H3 also at some point. You might see.
Yeah, but it's not very common to develop your knight to C3 in the Italian, although they do it quite a bit in modern times. Now, again, when I started out chess as a beginner, we learned by playing endless practice games against each other. And one of my favorite opening tricks was to play this knight to C3, bishop to G5, and knight to D5.
Yeah.
And my opponents would have no answer to this. But Vidit stops it with H6.
Yeah.
And Sahil, about 10 years ago, this opening would have been considered utter nonsense from white. Symmetrical line, no attempt at trying to get an advantage. But again, modern chess, it forces you to explore everything out there, because whatever has existed, black finds equality there. And again, this is such a symmetrical position. Very nice and solid position for black. But SL seems to be having some prep here. Is playing really fast.
True. And I think VD has been behind on the clock in almost all the games, but I think it's high time he just maintains that time on his clock and doesn't. That way he'll have time to later on for critical decisions. And this is an important game for him too, if he wants to really come back. Meanwhile, has the Nihal game started? Oh, can you go to the Nihal game quickly?
Yeah, but it was on the fourth move.
Yeah, but when I looked at it, the move played was B3. I was like, at this point, they're literally trolling. Yeah.
I know. That's why I took a few seconds to go there.
Okay, I understand. And he did not even play G3. So this is just, pure trolling.
Yeah, but okay, at least here it didn't start with 1B3. So it's a different opening. And very interesting setup by black, putting the bishop on F5 and then placing all the pawns on the light squares. This would be bad if the bishop was on C8, but on F5, the bishop escapes jail.
Yeah, true. And Nihal would definitely back himself in this game, clearly, because he's the rating favorite on paper at least. Vaishali, although, high after a win, very good win in the last round against Surya. So let's see how this progresses. And maybe we can have a look at the game of Leon against Karthikeyan, because that is a typical King's Indian, and the pawns have been pushed. They've already been pushed all the way, both sides. And I think it's I won't trust the engine again here.
Absolutely. The engine can get very confused in these types of King's Indian positions. Pawn storms on both the sides coming from this knight, even King's Indian. These positions are a lot of fun to play with the black pieces in general when you're playing King's Indian. It's exactly what you want from the King's Indian opening when you play with black.
And C6, look at the pawn change, by the way, all the way from G2 till C6, and then all the way from C7 to F4. And then if black has his way, he would love to get the G5 pawn to G3 as well. So, it's like the center is completely closed. And it's all about the flanks now.
Yep, all about the flanks. And the light square bishop is very important for black in these types of positions, because usually what happens, black gets a pawn to G3, And if white is allowed, he would love to stall everything with h3 and close everything. And in such a situation, if he gets a pawn to h3 and gets his bishop to f1, then white has completely stalled black's attack. So in these situations, black needs to sacrifice with the bishop on h3. And the light square bishop is therefore one of the most important pieces. So white usually tries and goes after the light square bishop first. It's the second thing is black needs to try and get g4 in such a way that it's defended, because if you play g4 and white is able to take f into g4, then he gets control of the light squares in this diagonal. So this is why he's played c6, because g4 he wants to meet with c into b7 and then f into g4. And if you don't play g4, like if you take something like this, then it opens this diagonal up.
True.
So Leon seems a lot better prepared out here, yeah?
True. And Karthik, of course, I think he's not had the best of tournaments so far, so we'll see how he can come back into this tournament. By the way,
is a sorry, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, I was mentioning that Adhiban, he also played G3 today. So maybe it's he's changing parties. Yeah, I don't know.
He better do. I mean, he has to also try and win the tournament.
Maybe
I mean, Karthikeyan is a very good ambassador for the King's Indian opening. Sahil, one of his accounts is called Young Kid. And that's a reference to the King's Indian defense. He plays a lot of King's Indian.
I mean, maybe we can have the end to the biggest beef in the Indian chess community. Yeah, G3, B3. Finally today. We can finally finish today, but let's see. It's too early for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's much of a beef, but okay.
Interesting. Okay, so if we briefly check out the VD game, this looks rather comfortable for white, right? I mean, the double pawns and everything, so slightly better for white, I assume. Just a structure, purely based on structure.
Yes, there is a double pawn, but it also gives black control over the d file. I'm not sure if it's such a major advantage for white here. I think it's still pretty even out there, and it's pretty comfortable for black. Also, Vidit would be happy to stay completely solid after his previous game, as we discussed. Yeah, he belongs to that classical school, which also Sergey came from. So he would love to stall the momentum with a solid game.
And maybe we can go to the game Arvind against Abhimanyu. So Arvind having sole lead at this moment, if he keeps winning, well, in theory at least, nobody can catch up with him. And
which could very well happen. Which could very well be the case. He certainly has a very nice question. Yeah, also the kind of question where I think Abhimanyu will not feel so great.
And if he just wins this, then it will definitely put pressure on others to start winning as well. And he's also maintained his time very well in this tournament so far. So never been under serious time pressure. And here as well, what do you play as Abhimanyu though? He plays Bishop F5.
Bishop F5. He answers it instantly. Bishop into B7 is Rook B8. So I think the answer is play a move where there's also some trick involved.
Yeah, true.
Okay, Knight to D3.
Knight D3 played.
Bishop into B7 is still not a threat though, but this knight on B6 is annoying, so it would be nice to get rid of it. Not allowing this to Rook 2. Come on this one. But this is the kind of question that Arvind wants once again. Arvind as a player is, I think, he has a few similarities with Magnus Carlsen. He loves these kind of slightly better positions, and he's very good at outplaying his opponents. And he's also, I think, the only guy the only person other than Magnus who plays complete nonsense in the openings and still manages to score.
Yeah, I still manage to score is very important. Yes, true. By the chat, people asking VD's score. VD is ranked second right now, but Arvind is the guy who's leading this event. Till the last round, both were tied for first place, but today, well, in the second round, last round, Arvind won his game, but VD lost against AD. So AD is spoiling the fun. And Arvind is not stopping. He's like, okay, I have a 3-point lead. Let's extend it.
Yep. He's not stopping, and he's doing it in such a smooth way. He's making it look very easy. Abhimanyu goes for the trade of the light square bishop with bishop e4, but this doesn't do anything against this b6 knight. And as long as this knight exists, it's going to have a clear superiority over this g7 bishop, and that is going to give white a very nice advantage.
Yeah, just rook a1 now, your move. Nothing changes, right? So rook a1, bring the rook into the game.
Yeah, rook a1, the rook goes to a7, the pawns on c5 and b4. It's a question of strategical dominance for white. It's amazing when Arvind is in a role, he's absolutely unstoppable. It doesn't matter if his opponent is even someone like Arjun.
Yeah.
And
somebody said the move order, the Catalan move order caused the biggest drama in recent history. If only people had bought Srinath's course, they would know the move orders.
I know, right? But Magnus did know the move order, and he used it in his World Championship match. But I think he probably just forgot and played knight c3 instead.
Yes, true.
That was a bit of a mouse slip, and then he felt so bad about it that he decided not to play anymore. That's the whole story, and people are making all kinds of assumptions.
Yeah.
The actual story is he felt so bad messing up the Catalan move order that he decided not to play anymore.
King g2 played. Okay, very normal move, improving the position slightly. Nothing much has changed. By the way, Abhimanyu, what happened in the last game? Abhimanyu had a draw against SL, okay? He lost a few games, I think, in the last few rounds. So I hope he can also somehow put some resistance here. Otherwise, I think as Arvind is moving in this tournament, I think he's just crushing everyone.
Yeah, I think given how the games have gone so far in this tournament, Arvind has established himself as the favorite after the first half. We are close to the end of first half. Technically after 8 rounds, but it could also be after 7 rounds. And in the 7th round here, in terms of play, Arvind has been effortlessly doing what others have taken a lot of effort to.
Chad, by the way, take a guess. Who do you think will be leading after today's day 2? So now Chidambaram is 3 points ahead, and he is most likely. But do you think anybody would catch up with him, like at least be tied first or take sole lead? Do let us know, Chad.
Yep. Or is there a little twist in the tail waiting? And Arvind has also done it against formidable opponents. Sahil, he defeated Ganguly, he defeated Karthikeyan, and then Roundup. 3 wins with black against this kind of opposition. And is this a blender? This is a blender.
What? 97 played. Okay.
This takes rook a8 check, bishop f8, and here there's something, I think. Just knight e5, I think. And then rook d8 on the next move.
Rook d8, knight d7. Yes.
So you have to go rook d6, in which case, I don't know. I'm not sure what the blender is, but looks like Arvind has something major.
By the way, do you know the pairing for round 8 for VD?
Yes, it's Arvind.
Exactly. So I think yeah, so it's like, the standings are not clear yet. They're not clear yet because the important match is remaining. Yeah, so both the leaders, not leaders as such. Right now, Arvind is in clear lead, but this game is important for both sides, clearly.
Absolutely. And Vidit will have the white pieces in that game. So he will look to make the most of it. And I think Arvind is set to win this game as well, Sahil. The advantage is huge. You take rook d7, rook e8 check, bishop f8, knight e5, rook d6. And I'm not sure how it continues here, but the problem is if I attack the b7 pawn, it's so hard for black to defend. I think this is the problem. Like I put my pawns on c5 and b4. This bishop is out of the game for now. And I just attack and try and capture. Maybe rook b8, there's still b6. So I start with c5, rook d5. And now I need not defend this, so I can go f4 because rook into c5, there's rook f8 check. And then I try and take the b7 pawn or just queen these pawns before the bishop can get into the game.
Yeah, if b7 falls, then it's just completely over. Yeah, two connected pass pawns. It's just over. By the way, Abhimanyu having a small snack there in the middle. He's like, okay, I think everything else is fine, but tummy should be filled. I totally agree.
Yeah, something has to be good. Something has to go right.
True.
And it's clearly not a push. I'm also this. Okay, knight d7 is understandable. You want to try and take this basics knight out of the game, but maybe not start with bishop e4 because you kind of needed one good piece to stay alive. And what Abhimanyu has done is he has gone into a position where the g7 bishop is the only minor piece remaining. You can feel that Abhimanyu hasn't been at his best in this tournament. What do you think he's eating though?
True. I don't know. Hard to say. Something with spikes. I'm not really sure though.
Chad, what do you think he's eating?
Somebody saying this is making me hungry.
I know, right?
Nice.
Similar feels.
Yeah. By the way, can we go to Vidit's game briefly? Because that game is also become a bit interesting. And as Arvind is completely winning, now the onus is on Vidit to somehow win his own game and then face Arvind in the final round of the day and then try to catch up in the lead. So looking at this position, Black has gained a lot of space in the center and the queen side as well. But it's very solid for White. So it's very difficult to win such positions, right?
Yeah, the problem for White is not able to get this f4 because there's knight g4. And without that, it's really not clear how White plays here. With this, something has gone wrong in White's strategy. I think he probably was counting on f4, but must have underestimated this queen h3. And the game is pretty much in Black's court at the moment. He has more space on the queen side. He can try and get this c4 in. SL goes for queen e2 at the moment. Rook a8 played instantly by Vidit. He wants to try and get in b5, c4, create open lines here. Knight on g2 severely restricted by black pawns. Very comfortable position for Black unless White gets f4.
By the way, chat is guessing, yeah, paneer Manchurian, momos, veg Manchurian, stockfish. Nice. I think the chat messages are making me even more hungry than Abhimanyu eating. I have to be honest, because I have actual clarity over what the chat is saying.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's not stockfish because looking at this position.
Yeah, true. By the way, Nihal, if we go to Nihal's game for a brief moment, because Vidit's game, I think he's going to slowly try and outplay SL, but let's see how it goes. Nihal Vaishali seems to be, however, more dynamic, where both the kings have refused to castle, and now he's just played rook g3 and trying to double up rooks. But this looks rather. Somehow the black king is weaker than the white king. Yeah, the two pawns on e3, f2 providing enough protection, and white is the first one to double up rooks. And there's a clear weakness on g6 to attack. That just feels like a weakness to attack, and you have a dark square bishop, so that means it cannot be easily defended. Yeah, Nihal definitely in the driver's seat.
Definitely, and a much needed boost for Nihal after losing the last 2 games in a row. But that's usually also sometimes the end point of the tilt. Sometimes things go so wrong that you just relax a bit. The worst is over.
True.
But it
Yes.
also helps immensely when you're a strong chess player, because tilt, it brings down your game a few notches. But even a weakened version of Nihal is still considerably strong for a lot of grandmasters.
True. And now the black rook has to come to h6, right? And that is a very uncomfortable square. Like, that is so uncomfortable to put the rook there. You can't really play g5 almost ever. And that rook is just so awkward.
Yep. The rook is super awkward, and it's going to be out of the game for the foreseeable future.
By the way, in the
improving
Arvind
his
game,
bishop now.
He's trying to bring the bishop. Makes a lot of sense. In the Arvind game, what you said exactly happened. Yeah, rook d6 and b6. I think we saw all of it, or maybe I'm checking it in the wrong position. Let me...
No, it's right. He's also played f4 now.
Yeah.
Rook to c5 is not an option because of rook f8 check, and otherwise this pawn is in serious danger. So you can play something like f6, knight d3, rook d7, but now maybe at the very least you can go b4, b5.
Yeah, just slowly trying to win this game. Yeah, I think there's probably no immediate winning.
Yeah, it might happen actually a lot faster because this one of these pawns can queen by the time black is able to get his pieces out. Because his bishop is so buried under everything, his own pawns. This pawn, the bishop is just not getting into the game.
Very important round for all the players. Very, very important.
Yeah, but Arvind is kind of making everything look inconsequential.
Yeah, it's although I remember this World Blitz where Nepo was at some point running away with it, and then Carlsen was like, okay, I mean, if he wins all the games, I can't do much. But then he somehow lost a game, and then Carlsen came back, and there was a very tough fight at the end. So it's like I think some people will have chances, yeah. So he will end up making a mistake at some point. And at that point, there should be somebody very close. So Vidit is 3 points behind, so he's 1 win behind. And Adhiban is 4 points behind. So, and then SL 5 and Mitraba 5. So it's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think it's going to be a one-horse race just yet. But in terms of his quality of play, he's playing at a different level. His games are out of the world. And we've seen Arvind do this before as well. It's actually a very pleasing sight to see because we all know how incredibly talented and capable he is. But for him to bring that potential into practical gameplay, that's a very pleasing sight to see.
And I remember, he was playing this Chennai Open many years back when he was 2300, and he won that event ahead of many 2600 grandmasters. So he's known to outshine even against much stronger players. So I think the focus shifted to other youngsters as well in the meanwhile, but he's always been there, winning every National Rapid Blitz championship. Like, I mean, I've not seen anybody else win it. Yeah, he just wins every single one. So it's crazy how strong he actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. Could well be the next 2700 from India.
Yeah, it's like we have a lot now. We have a lot now, actually. I think now I'm wondering, every Olympiad, it's like we'll miss the not having those 2-3 teams because we'll have so many strong players, and it's insane. It's insane. Although, what is Abhimanyu thinking? It's Abhimanyu's move, right? So What can be his
Sorry.
plan?
He played e6,
Okay.
and we have b4. This is the current position. e6 b4. It's probably resignable. We should maybe look at some of the other games.
Probably.
We can conclude that this is completely winning for Arvind, and also given the form that he's in, he's likely to score.
By the way, Raja Harshit has a dominating position against Arjun Kalyan. There's a pawn on f6, and when there's a pawn on f6 unchallenged, I think that's usually a very bad sign in general. And there are a few bishops dancing around, and the position does seem to be a mess. But with White's 3 pawns in front of his king, I think just looking at those 3 pawns makes me feel that White is just completely winning this.
You're talking about this game, right?
Yes, this one.
Yeah, Harshit hasn't won. He won against Divya, but not the most convincing games. But this game looks a lot better for Harshit, who has had a difficult tournament so far. He's not lost a lot of games, but he has also not been able to get those wins going. And we all know the format, how important those wins are.
True. And if Harshit, by the way, is recently, focused a lot on chess. I've seen him commentate and play a lot of tournaments, and he would love to, win these games and come back into the mix.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We also have a pretty interesting position in the Mitraba Ronak game, where there are these 2 pawns on f3 and h3. And
so which one is going to fall first? Will it be h2 or although I don't know how to get to h2, there's no way. Yeah?
Rook h4, no?
Yeah, rook h4, rook g4, exactly. True. But he goes to b7.
Yeah, but now knight c3, Mitrava is happy to repeat. Black is the one who is pressing here.
Chat, there are 16 players in total, and this is basically the first player directly qualifies. So there are high stakes here. And of course, there are so many youngsters in India who are raring for this opportunity to play against the top-notch players. We have Nihal, Vidit, Ronak, we have SL, you have, the Olympia team fighting, AD, and then you also have youngsters who want to challenge these guys. So this is a great opportunity. Chidambaram, for example, missed out on the Olympia team. He's fighting and leading this tournament. So you can see how much, how strong these Indian youngsters have become. And this tournament is a great chance for everybody, I think.
Absolutely. And it's also a kind of, it's one of the special things where you can start at the absolute bottom and then go on to defeat the world champion, the Champion Chess Tour. There's a qualification tournament out there. You can win and get your way. And we have seen that happen. Arjun Erigaisi was the winner of the previous qualifier through the Indian Chess Tour. And look at where he ended up in just a year.
True. One opportunity can lead to others. Absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, before Champion Chess Tour, he was out there making draws with you, and now post Champion Chess Tour.
yeah, true. Absolutely true. So yeah, make draws with me or lose to me. That really helps. And that will really help us both. Win-win situation. By the way, can we switch to Raja's game? I have a feeling it might end soon. He's just played rook to d4, and the black king does not feel safe to me. And yeah, the bishop on c6 also kind of limits any sort of counterplay. So it's like, what does black really do? The bishop on c also controls the diagonal, so there's no bishop f3, queen h3 ideas.
Just rook h4 or queen e5. And just rook into h6 maybe.
He plays rook h4.
Queen G5. Rook into E2, that's Queen C1 check. This is his intention. But can't you do some F4 Queen C5 check?
But even that variation might be fine for white, right? I mean,
you mean this one?
Yeah, it's just
the problem is the queen. It's fine for white, but you're not mating immediately. Is he going for this one?
Oh, he went for
because he went for it because I think he must have worked this out to mate. Well, do I see a repetition happening in the Vidit game?
Really? Let's have a look. Not just they have played knight f6.
Well,
so it depends.
Yeah.
No, he plays 91. He played 91, so he rejects the repetition SL.
Game is on. Mitraba Raunak was also repeated once, but the game goes on. And I think this one's going to take a bit of a while though.
I think it's like there's clear incentive to play for the win. Yeah, even if you end up losing a game or two, you can cover up it with one win. So I think that's why people are not taking draws. We have seen very limited draws in all the rounds so far, like 1 or 2 draws or draws. Mostly it's just been wins. So I think that is really cool. So this format is really, really interesting.
Yeah, that, and also it doesn't impact the FIDE rating. So there was this one national championship in which the tiebreak was the number of wins as opposed to Buchholz, which used to be common. And it was an unrated tournament. And put in such a situation, I was like, okay, so maybe draws are not so useful in this tournament. And there were some games where I didn't mind losing instead of making a draw, because I thought I'd get an easier opponent if I lose. And if I make a draw, then it might get tough. Long story short, it ended up being one of the most disastrous national tournaments in my life, because although I did get a number of wins, the draws became losses. And I ended up being like 2.5 points short. Oh, Arvind has won against Abhimanyu Puranik.
Yeah, that's over. Yeah, it's very
that's a big
performance
win.
here. Yeah, that's a very big win. So as of this moment, he's the only guy finishing his game, and that means he has a 6-point lead over the others. Wow. And the others have to catch up now. He's as you said, running away with it, yeah?
Yep. And in another major upset of sorts, AD is clearly worse against Shyam Sundar. What has gotten into Shyam today?
The knight on c4 is a beautiful piece, yeah? It's just the bishop is completely useless against it. All you can hope is to maybe on a good day undermine everything with e4, a4, but looks rather far-fetched.
Yep, it looks rather far-fetched. So Shyam had this one opportunity against Abhimanyu, which went very sadly for him. But since then, he's collected himself and bounced back pretty well. And he had his upset win over Nihal in the previous game, and is in the driver's seat against AD as well, who just defeated VD.
Surya Ganguly has won his game against Divya in very convincing manner. We did not have a look at this game in this round, but it was a one-way street. Always better for white, and these two bishops just portray a dominating position on the board. Yeah, the knight on ace is completely out of the picture. Just b7 is falling soon, and then the pawns again will just rush through to the queening squares. So Divya resigns, and Surya coming back with the win.
Divya has clearly gone into a tilt after her previous loss, that loss against Harshit. Meanwhile, what has Vidit done to his queen?
What happened? Oh, what happened? What is this? The queen looks rather very awkward, right? Is it?
Yeah. Again, I think there's a major moment in the Vidit game. The queen and Vidit are shaking his head. He's clearly missed some risks of white. The queen can still go to h4. It's still not dead yet. But after knight e1, knight g2, and rook h3, the queen looks set to be trapped. Sahil, can you save it?
No, the thing is, it just g4 when he played on move, I don't know, a couple of moves back, it is such a anti-positional move that is kind of not so surprising. He just forgot about it because you never play g4 and allow knight f4. Yeah, so
Yeah, and
he's
it was
just
hanging in the air for a few moves. Yeah, like
yeah,
all this time G4 was not working, and then suddenly it works for white.
yeah. And now this looks rather difficult.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Yeah, like 2 losses in a row for VD if SL pulls it through.
Yeah, this is what happens. Yeah, once you lose one, you're likely to lose one more. And
That's why you try and make sure that you don't lose even one.
And if you look at the scheme of things, VD is losing, Adhiban is worse. So nobody who's close to Arvind is actually even drawing his game. So Arvind is probably, going to have a huge lead by the end of the day, especially if he manages to defeat Vidit. That will be an insane lead for Arvind. Wow. Stakes are becoming very, very high.
Vidit will have to try and defeat Arvind in order to keep himself in contention, because a 6-point lead would be very difficult to catch up. And especially considering that Arvind's, I think, most challenging opponent is Vidit on the 8th round, and then with the black pieces against Nihal in the 10th round. And then he has another black in the 12th round against SL. So he has had 3 wins out of 3 with the black pieces, but the next 3 games are going to be very challenging for him against some of the toughest players with the white pieces. And as far as this game is concerned, for Vidit, the queen's not getting saved.
By the way, Raja has won his game against Arjun Kalyan. Maybe we can have a look at that game, how he finished it off. So we saw, I think, this check on c1, and he took with the rook on c6, but then rook e5, queen c2, and then rook takes h6. And I think this was, of course, just over. Yeah.
It's a nice finish, very pretty finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a couple of pawns extra, but looking at the king safety is really, really important. And all the queen, the rooks cannot do anything to defend. As simple as that.
Absolutely, Sahil. As far as chess is concerned, it's a king.
Yeah. And okay, he takes on g2, going back to VD's game.
Takes on g2, queen takes g2, and now rook h3 is coming unstoppably. It's such a helpless moment for Vidit. He had such a nice position, such nice pieces, but finally nothing can save him against his queen getting trapped. Because if you take h into g4, then after f into g4, rook h3 is a threat. You can go rook h6, but then this rook comes in. And in the end, he plays rook f6. So probably he'll still fight on with this.
Wow.
By closing everything.
This is very, very interesting. I have to admit, if this happens. I've seen this in studies, like, you have this bishop a4 check, king a4, b3 check, king b5, c4 check, like some studies like these. But if this happens, that would be cool.
It has happened. It is on the game. It is on the board. So game on. Vidit is fighting, and he has found this defense. Now the only way for white to make progress is to give away the pawns, throw them in the air, which SL will do, but he will take a bit of time, I think.
But
let VD calculate.
With perfect play, do you think this is actually a win for white? If
looking at the evaluation bar, I'm compelled to say yes.
I don't know. I don't trust the evaluation bar in such positions. It's like, sometimes I feel engines cannot calculate this well. Like, I would think VD has some chances here to hold.
Oh yeah, for sure. Practically, I think there's all the chances. But if you're playing against Stockfish, I think no one can save this with black, because it will play b4 or f4 at a moment where it's difficult to. Yeah, and the thing with rook f4 is it is committing this queen here, so this rook here. So I'm going to play b4 and c5 and open things. So Vidit wants to take with cv4, but again king g2. Making Vidit guess constantly when white is going to strike.
So what if I just keep the rook on c8 and the rook on f4? So you can't play f4. You only have b4 remaining now. And if you take, I take with the c pawn. And
So he starts with rook c1 now.
Clever.
And potentially the queen to d2. And see how he's making Vidit, forcing Vidit to think, to make these decisions. He will only make a committal move when it's clear that it's working. Now he's thinking about b4, to b4, c5.
He has to play b4 now, right? I mean,
looks so, because to b4, c5, but he's probably still checking this. Oh, but this shouldn't be much.
Yeah, queen d5.
So b4 looks winning already.
Yep, very interesting moment. And he has time. I think that really helps here. That really helps. If you have 10 seconds on the clock here, if he had VD's time, then certainly, of course, like, you can panic a little bit and
yes, absolutely. SL is someone who doesn't get low on time so easily. In the Chess 24 Bantam Blitz Cup, the initial format where there was no increment, it was just 3+0. He played so fast that even Ali Reza was, he was making Ali Reza look slow.
Yeah.
He was flagging everyone left and right. And it was very uncomfortable for his opponents because he also made these pretty decent moves with such pace.
Is the king headed off to b2 so that after c takes or a takes, then you can stop the b pawn with the king? Is that the plan here?
Yeah, or maybe he was just waiting for Vidit to leave his f7 pawn on pre.
Also true. That definitely looks like a tasty pawn on f7.
With this,
he goes for it. Important moment, chat. And f7 is falling. But now king g7 played.
Queen d5 and rook into c5.
Yep.
But you can just take this and play queen d6, I think.
Yeah, this should be winning for white now.
Yep. He's gone for queen d5.
SL has 11 points. If SL wins, he goes to 14 and he will be ranked second. If Adhiban and...
Yeah, he overtakes with it.
Wow. So he definitely is in the mix here of definitely fighting.
Meanwhile, Leon is winning against Karthikeyan. Yeah, we're at the end moment of this game. Queen b7 check has just been played and Karthikeyan has to resign.
Yeah, the pawn cannot be stopped now.
This was a pretty interesting game, but in the end, Leon takes it. And SL is also taking this one. In the other boards, which are live right now, Sham better against Adhiban, although his advantage isn't as big as it was. And Mitrapal, I think, is better against Ronak.
So Ronak as well, right? So Ronak definitely not having the best of tournaments, at least by his standards. He's ranked 11th with 7 points, and he would definitely like a few wins under his belt here.
Absolutely. Ronak hasn't been in the best of forms since the Olympiad somehow. He had a bad Abu Dhabi Masters, not in the best of form in Dubai Open, although I think he finished decently. And this is the next tournament. Oh, and look at SL going for f4.
Yeah, he's not shying away from giving so many pawns.
Yeah, it reminds me of this fight scene where there were a lot of these mirrors, and Bruce Lee then goes on to just break all the mirrors. So his opponent doesn't have that advantage and he can see clearly.
Yeah, true. F3, you have so many pass pawns here. Like it's almost like, you feel black should have some chances. Yeah, F2, B2, but the queen is a powerful beast. Yeah, it can chop off check, takes check, takes check, takes check, and suddenly everything is lost.
Yes, Sahil, and I think with queen d7 check, it signs the death knell for Vidit in this game.
King g6, queen f5 check should allow white to capture a lot of pawns with check. And if king goes back, then gf6 basically ends the game there and there. So I don't see any defense. He plays king g6, but now queen f5, king g6, and you take everything.
Yeah, he plays on. Meanwhile, it's actually Mitraba who's in the second place right now with that win over Ronak. We didn't give him a lot of attention today, but he's quietly crept up there to the second spot.
True. And you can see all the pawns one by one. And suddenly it seems like, black has no pawns remaining. Once you capture one of f3 and b3, that's when it basically resigns. I think when one of these pawns can be either captured or something like this.
Yep.
Yeah, so far 5 wins and all for white here. Yeah, true.
Yeah, and I think this game also going along that path. Meanwhile, Vaishali is holding admirably against Nihal. Will probably get to some of the other games as we await the end of this game, which has gone a bit longer than we thought it would.
But it's like white always has to be careful, right? He has to calculate everything. But queen d4 seems to basically simplify matters, because now it's like your rook is unstable, and that makes it really difficult.
Yeah, as long as he has these fast pawns, he's not giving up just yet. Yeah, he still has some hope, but one of it will fall after queen b6.
Now it's gone. Now it's, I think, time to resign.
So he'll fight with the f pawn. He's not resigning as long as these pawns stay alive.
Although I think now it's lost. I think now it should be easy.
Yeah, it's been lost for a pretty long time, actually. Nihal has drawn against Vaishali.
Oh, wow.
So this is a tough day for Nihal.
And Adhiban still fighting on against Sham. I think maybe we can switch to that game. I think this one would be over. So this is the game where Adhiban, by the way, who's ranked 3rd. So if he can somehow hold on, that will be really, really in his favor here. But well, Sham is definitely, decided to, defeat all his students from the Olympiad team. Well, kind of. And now he's trying to show off the pawns, create a pass pawn, and yeah.
Yeah, there's been such a fiery performance from Sham, and wins against Nihal, wins against Adhiban. Very impressive.
I think the standings after this round will be one guy at the top and then the entire field. So I think the next round between Vidit and Arvind is going to be really important, not just for Vidit and Arvind, but for everybody else. Because I think if somehow Arvind can defeat Vidit or hold off against him, he will maintain his huge lead. And then, the number of opponents who Arvind is, going to feel very against are limited. So it's like Vidit is one of his biggest challenges, and he would love to continue his form.
What has happened in the Vidit game, though? This rook game is completely winning for Black. Just to explain, Black is up by a pawn, and one of these 2 pawns will fall in the next few moves. So rook g2 and rook into a2. And Black will be up by 2 pawns, and this a pawn will be unstoppable because the white spaces are too far away. Meanwhile, in the Vidit game, it has gone into a pawn endgame where
okay, it turned out to be a bit too close for comfort, but I think SLS calculated all of this, and yeah, there's just no time to queen. So yeah.
Yeah, no time to queen, but you still have to. He just stops this pawn and takes his king and takes this pawn. Simple and straightforward. Yeah, I think just king c4 now.
Yep, all white wins so far. Exactly.
Yeah, Sham is the only one defending Black's honor in this game, in this round. Yeah, and I think finally we are going to see resignation from Vidit. But he hasn't given up so easily in this game. He was very unwilling to lose this one, especially that he had a fine position till a certain point, and you can see the pain in his face. You can clearly see how disappointed he is. It's been a very tough day for him, and AD has also just resigned against Shyam Sundar.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a loss for both Vidit and Adhiban in this round.
Can we, I think, quickly have a look at the standings? I'm very curious. Oh, for the first results, yeah, very important. Look at how many white wins we have. It's a straight line of wins. That's, I mean, white pieces matter. Yeah, I think this tournament, as far as I can see, there's always mostly been like, white wins, and you can see a lot of crushing wins and one draw by Nihal at the top. And Arvind Chidambaram, yeah, just crazy performance so far. 5-point lead. That means you basically require 2 wins to catch up with him, because 1 win and 1 draw is just 4 points. So 2 wins. He's just having an insane lead right now.
Yeah, Sahil. And he has also played a lot of these strong opponents, but he hasn't played a lot from 2 to 6, as far as I remember. He hasn't played Mitraba, he hasn't played SL, he hasn't played Vidit. He hasn't played Leon, who has looked super solid, by the way. In a traditional scorecard, Leon would be a bit higher, but because of 4 draws, he's a bit behind at the end of 7 rounds. But he's been super solid, difficult to defeat, and he has taken his chances whenever they have presented themselves.
Yeah.
And it's been a tough day for Divya today after that earlier loss against Harshit. Let's see how she comes back. And it has also been a very tough day for Nihal as well.
Yeah, so today we're seeing the matches between the favorites. So definitely we're seeing ups and downs. And as of now, there's just Arvind there who's just crushing everybody, but he's still not faced Nihal. He's still not faced Vidit, as Shri clearly mentioned. So those tough games are still remaining. So it will not be a easy path for him. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next round. I think next round we'll see Vidit face off against Arvind. And that will be a very important match for this entire tournament standings.
Absolutely, Sahil. That's going to be the match to look forward to. But apart from that, we also have Nihal with the white pieces against the Beast, AD, and a number of other interesting matchups as well. We will be right back. The games are set to begin in about 5 minutes. So stay tuned. Do hit that like button. And we'll be right back after a short little break.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the endgame with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
I'm ahead of the game. Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me, I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I'm only ever slinging, I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy, logically I'm impossibly wanted, and they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game.
Hi everyone, welcome to our new video series. My name is Jan Gustafsson and I'm thrilled to be reunited with fellow Magnus Carlsen's trainers, seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen's head coach, and Laurent Fressinet, Magnus Carlsen's French coach, are both here, and we will be going through the World Championship match 2021. Our experiences with it, the games, what we prepared, where we felt things went well, where we felt things didn't go well. Peter, we have different perspectives because we were in different locations.
Very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about it because you were in Thailand during all the match and I was in Dubai with Magnus and his non-chess team. So I see some kind of debriefing where we will discuss what was the mood in Dubai, what was happening in the technical department in Thailand, and we got to sort of basically compare notes and get the two kind of inside looks from the match.
Very much so. And Laurent, we are actually in your private home. Thanks for having us.
It's a big pleasure to welcome both of you, and I'm sure it will be interesting to talk to you guys about the match.
Likewise.
So we hope you guys enjoy the series with our behind the scenes insights. See you then.
I kept Chessable a secret for 3 years at least, and I was using it for myself. And I, maybe never expected how big it would become. I have always been into games, and I think games are fun ways to pass your time. Sometimes they can be educational as well, but I think chess is the perfect game that has it all. It's a game that not only entertains you, but also teaches you about life skills, from things like time management to the consequences of your moves or your actions. Once you make a move, you cannot take it back. I really fell in love with the game. And of course, given my competitive nature, I wanted to get better at it. And I found it extremely difficult after watching countless videos and reading some books. You would put in all that effort, and then when you get to the board, it's like it all disappeared, all vanished, and you performed at the exact same level you were before that. And I looked around for a solution that could perhaps use the latest technology, the latest learning science out there to help you learn chess, and there was nothing. So that's how the idea was born. I've been building things since I was 14, and I always enjoy bringing a community together around a product. And we got a lot of energy from the chess community as well. Really from day one, when we announced Chessable, there was thousands of people who thought this was a...
Hey everyone, we are live back with the final round of the day with some very, very interesting pairings. Shri, I think this is the cracker of a round, maybe even the most exciting one of the day.
Absolutely. And we thought the Vidit Nihal game would be a thriller, and it did promise. It did live up to its promise. And similarly, we have the Vidit Arvind game to sign off for the day. And we have the first moves in a few of the games as well. There's a lot of E4s though, this game, Sahil. There's also the Vaishali Divya game to look forward to in this round. A lot of E4s, but not an... Wow.
Arvind is very, very, he is not like, we saw that Petrov idea he played yesterday and won the game as black. That was like also very spectacular. So I think he's not shying away from playing, not the, I would say, the most challenging openings for white to face. And this is just also shows his confidence. Yeah, he really has faith in himself that he can outplay, and you can see his camera as well. He's like shrouded in darkness. We don't know what to expect from his expressions and also from the moves on the board.
Yeah, it's like Batman. I mean, we know he's camera shy and doesn't like to be in front of the camera, but this is taking it to another level.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there we have some light. Do you think there was a power cut at Arvind's place or something?
I think he's kept the lighting very consciously. Whenever I want to scare everybody, I'm going to go back a little bit, and then it will be dark, and everybody will start, as you said, the Batman jokes. So maybe it's just a power cut. Who knows?
Oh, actually, it happened once. I was there was this tournament, the Delton Royal in Goa, and I was playing against Swans Mishra, who was we both were leading, and it went into this endgame, and then there was suddenly this power cut. So the arbiter asked us to stop the clocks. I was so tempted to go like I'm back in the middle of the game. But then I thought, it might be a bit distracting for the opponent. So I refrained from doing that. But it's something to try in Indian tournaments because you can count on one power cut happening in
But I
most of
think
the events.
the issue is it's very difficult to be Batman in India. Nobody would believe you with the roads that we have. It's, I mean, imagine the Batmobile crashing into some sort of, I don't know what he'll crash into. I'm sure you imagine like hundreds of things it can crash into. So it's very unlikely. But okay.
Yeah, but they do have the Batman can also glide and fly. Have you seen this
Yeah,
machine?
but then
Which he can fly?
it's impossible in Delhi, no? Like with the pollution, he will drop like a fly. I think it's impossible in India for Batman to exist somehow. But anyways, by the way, we have some interesting pairings there. We also have a Nihal against AD. That's one more very very crazy pairing for this round.
And AD has repeated this Dutch defense, the Leningrad Dutch against Nihal as well. But Nihal a bit wary after Vidit's game. He decides to go for a less ambitious approach, which gives him more control. And I think he'd be happy with the output from the opening.
True. There's a hole on e6. Right now, it's well controlled by the knight on c5, the bishop on d7, and AD's in general his super confident behavior. But slowly but surely, once the pieces move away, it can be utilized by the white pieces.
Yep. AD has already baited one player by with the e6 square and went on to decimate him. But let's see if Nihal fares better.
Yeah.
I would also keep my eye on the Shyam Sundar SL Narayanan game. Shyam with the white pieces, and he's hot of 3 wins in a row. And SL is in a joint second spot up, along with Mitraba. And this is also going to be a game to watch out for.
Yep. Very, very interesting setup there. Both sides castle on the opposite sides. So, of course, an attack is already en route. Right now, of course, f5 will lead to bishop g5. So we have to be a bit careful regarding how fast we push our pawns. But of course, at some point, king b1, and then we'll see these pawns being pushed. As you can see, Shyam is, well, slightly better. Apart from it, the evaluations are very, very close to equality. This is a very important round, chat. Very important, because Arvind Chidambaram right now is just running away with this tournament. He's literally won all his games with just one draw. And there's a 5-point lead between him and the second guy. And somebody has to catch up. And he's playing Vidit right now, who's one of the strongest players in this tournament. And he would back himself to not only do it for himself, but, say everybody is banking on Vidit to stop Arvind. Otherwise, Arvind simply runs away with the tournament and wins it, yeah?
Absolutely. Vidit has it is up to Vidit to keep this tournament interesting. Vidit is pretty good at doing that in general. But let's see if he's able to beat this opening of Arvind. I mean, seriously. Again, d4, g6, e4, the modern defense, and then with a6. These kind of openings are very risky. I remember there was a 20-move game of Surya Shekhar Ganguly winning with the white pieces against Peter Swidler. We also have some exciting tactics in the Abhimanyu Mitraba game. Abhimanyu not having the best of tournaments so far, but he just unleashed knight takes d5 and Mitraba responding pretty well. I think this is probably going towards something equal, Sahil, because white will take these 2 pawns, but black is immediately taking the pawns back.
Also, the Ronak game seems to be a pretty, normal position, I think. So he has control over b5, d5. and the rook is opposite the queen. But yeah, for now, no tactics possible, I think. So Ronak has to strike. Yeah, from Ronak's perspective, it's high time because he's ranked 12th out of 16 players, has 7 points. If he cannot catch up a few wins, then it will be almost impossible for him to get first place. So he really needs a lot of wins in a row to come back into contention.
Yep. And the other important game between Vaishali and Divya. So far, I think it has gone Vaishali's way. A very, very pleasant advantage for white here. The pair of bishops, the dark squares advantage, the rook very nicely placed on e5. And Divya is someone who can play really well when she's in a good mood. But today, after her first round, it was really hard to stay in a good mood. And I think that has affected her subsequent games. And this game as well, she has been playing really fast, more than 15 minutes on the clock. But I definitely don't expect preparation because the position is really bad for black.
And energy level does look to be a bit low. But I think it's like, as again that, we come back to that dropped catch example. If you suddenly get a second chance in a game, suddenly you feel alive again. So I think although Vaishali is not one to offer second chances, and this position is just one way, somehow very difficult to get counterplay.
Yeah, it's a very nice position for white. And this pawn shouldn't be on f5. Bishop shouldn't be on h5. It has all gone wrong for black out of the opening.
By the way, Puranik against Mitraba is slowly moving to a draw already. So I think that should be pretty much decided with equal number of pawns. That's already an opposite color bishop. They're just playing around, but this should be a draw very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's been a pretty solid showing by Mitraba. I think who deserves a shout out. He played really well in the second leg of the Indian Chess Tour as well. And he's done fabulously well so far in this tournament as well. Yeah. Pretty solid, pretty consistent in the second spot. And the other person in the second spot is SL Narayanan. Meanwhile, we also have some action in the Vidit Arvind game where the knight has come to d4. And Arvind is just bobbing his head.
Yeah, you can see his confidence. He's literally so confident it's coming out of his beak. It can't be contained within his body. Yeah, it's so much confidence there.
Yeah, it feels like a boxer, no? A boxer dancing around, trying to evade the punches of the opponent.
Yeah. And here, usually it's not recommended to take this pawn because the bishop on g7, once it's opened up, will gain you enough counterplay usually. I am not sure what the best move exactly is, but even just castles here probably should be fine. And because you've moved the rook to h3, kingside castling is no longer an option. And all these dark square weaknesses, d2, e3, f4, g3, f2, they will come back to haunt you. And this very, very strong bishop, so your king will never be safe, basically. And the bishop on f1.
Yeah, and Vidit has already been burnt by the dark square bishop once.
Yeah. So I don't think taking this knight is the best. However, I think you can also try to say this knight is also kind of stranded, has no clear path to go back home. It's only b5. So maybe moving the knight back and then threatening a move, something like c3 maybe is a good plan.
Possible, quite possible. Although the drawback of this would be that you are moving the knight back, but has its advantages as well. Vidit chooses to just go long castle. I think he'll continue on with king b1. Also, you can trade this knight off with knight e2. That's also another way. The bishop comes to e2 and then you prepare for g4 based on where the black king goes. But this is probably not the best way to play with white against this opening. I think there could have been better ways because it feels okay. White has things under control, but it feels a bit soft. And there are some really aggressive options against the Perk model.
Chat, by the way, what do you think will happen in this game? Because as we know, Arvind is in clear lead. If he wins, I think he will extend his lead just to insane levels. Do you think VD will win this game and suddenly the tournament will be wide open, or do you think Arvind will simply stretch his lead even further? Let us know what do you think of the result. Yeah, VD win, draw, Arvind wins. This is a very, very important game.
Absolutely. Maybe we can have a poll on the channel.
Yeah.
Can Vidit stop Arvind today? Can Arvind be stopped at all in this tournament? Will it happen?
No, I
Do
played
we have
Arvind.
some?
Yeah. We have some.
Do we have some action in the Sham SL Narayanan game? Black looks fantastic here.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So Sahil, if SL wins this game, and looking at the position, he's a definite favorite because he's getting this pawn to A3, which will open the dark squares, or even B3, just opening up the king. White's counterplay is not that fast. If he wins this, then he's staying in contention. He's keeping the tournament alive. He's just 4 points behind Arvind. So if he wins in that direct encounter, in which he has the white pieces, he will be pretty much in action.
True. He will go to 17 points. That is 2 points behind, as long as Arvind loses. But of course, we don't know that. So yeah, I think as we can see, nobody's giving up. Yeah, it's not over, of course. And in this position, do you think White has also some chances? Like with, of course, the opposite color bishops, maybe he can put the bishop on d3, threaten mate on h7, and if g6, then h5, and suddenly all hell breaks loose. So it's still some chances, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. If black allows, if he takes like knight into e4 and allows, actually he's done that, gone bishop f6.
Okay, it happened.
White certainly has some chances here, I think.
Yeah, now I like this
bishop
plan
d3,
of
g6.
Yeah.
This is some
very tricky. Opposite
pretty nice counterplay. But also here you get the feeling that black is a bit faster.
Also, by the way, Arvind it's in his favor that it's the last game of the day. Yeah? So even if by chance he ends up losing, it's an immediate rest, because we saw Nihal lose 2 games in a row. We saw VD lose 2 games in a row. So clearly that works out in Arvind's favor. So even if just in case he loses, he gets that rest and he can come back fresh tomorrow.
Yep. And Nihal just couldn't come back from that defeat today. We see again his game against AD, where AD has a very nice position after queen a5.
Yeah, using that f pawn push perfectly. The queen on a5, keeping an eye on the e1 square, keeping an eye on the d5 pawn, and the knight on c1 is kind of awkward as of now. Not comfortable at all.
Absolutely not comfortable at all for White. Very nice opening preparation by AD, this obscure opening, but he's used it to fantastic effect.
True. When Arvind is in form, he just wins the tournament. Yeah, I mean, if Arvind just keeps winning, then it's all there's not much anybody can do. Yeah, so I think it's about somebody has to stop him, and then they might be a closely contested tournament. I think that's how you basically the tournament keeps kind of continues to be interesting. But I think he will be stopped at some point. I think it's just a law of probability. At some point, you end up making a mistake. But who will it be?
Yeah, and it could very well be this game, because he's just played rook c8. He doesn't know where to put his king. It's a bad position for Arvind. You have to admit it. White is better. White has a comfortable position, and his plan is also clear. He wants to play knight to e2, trade this knight, after which White has more space. He has the better pieces. This bishop on g7, not a good piece. Typical King's Indian bishop. And with rook c8, it feels like Arvind is intending some kind of c5, to keep this knight alive. He's preparing. But then these kind of questions with the d file open, it also creates chances against the d6 pawn. Just as a illustrative variation, not considering. Yeah, but overall, the weaknesses are much more on. So Vidit goes for king b1 as expected. And I do expect knight e2 to come.
Yeah. Because black has one active piece, right? The knight on d4. You get rid of it. I think there's very few pieces on the board which are as strong as the knight on d4. So you trade it off. And then what black has is all passive pieces, the bishop on g7, as Sri mentioned, and so on. And then if he castles king side, then you start opening up the position with g4 and so on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't have a counter for that in the stream, do we?
Arvind should have been part of Olympia team. I think it's basically the teams are based on ratings, so it's not like anybody pick and choose. I think it depends on ratings for those 3 months. But I think regardless, if Arvind can increase some rating, like he will get his own chances, and this is one of those chances, and he totally is utilizing them. And he also won the last time, and he's cruising through as of now, just convincingly. So once you start playing like this, I think I remember it was Arjun, right, who somehow won these tournaments suddenly, and then he got more and more chances. He won those, got more chances. It's a loop, right? So once you start playing well, you get more and more opportunities.
Yes, and Arvind and SL Narayanan, I think both of them are around the similar age. I'm not exactly sure, but very similar age, quite young, 24 years old. SL is 24 years old. Arvind should also be around a similar age, and they are incredibly capable players. They are very strong. SL was part of the India 1 team. And it's just that they have been eclipsed by a golden generation of prodigies, the likes of which we have never seen before. And I'm not sure if we'll have a similar generation of prodigies in the next generation as well. Arvind is just 22. He's even younger than SL, although his birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, wow. That's nice. So,
yeah. 11th
usually,
September. He was born in 9/11.
Yeah, you okay. Usually, I think people have better days than the average day on their birthdays. At least in my experience, I've had good days on my birthdays usually when I've played chess. But I don't think that's a common common statistic there. But let's see.
Actually, yeah. To be honest, yeah, birthdays can be a bit of a bad luck in chess. Arjun had a birthday and he lost against Arvind. I remember Vidit also lost a pretty bad game against Abhijit Gupta in one of his birthdays in Isle of Man. But we don't want to jinx it.
I think Carlsen's birthday kind of skewers things in that favor, right? Because his birthday is around November and the World Championship is usually around November. It's not the case this time, but usually it's around November and he ends up winning it on his birthday.
Yep. But someone's pointing out that Magnus lost CCT against. So somehow, it feels like you don't want to play on your birthday. It just... Anish lost to 1b3 on his birthday.
But it's like maybe this internal hope, yeah. Maybe it's just me. You land up at the board and you feel your opponent will be not pushing his best because maybe he will be waiting at the board with the gift. Oh my God, it's your birthday! So happy. Here's few rating points. I'll blunder a piece or something, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately, you never get gifts on the chessboard. It's a sad thing. You do sometimes feel like that. Sometimes you're not feeling well and sometimes you hope that your opponent feels sorry for you, but no, people are merciless.
Yeah, true. By the way, he played bishop d3, so he just developed the bishop first.
Yeah, but just the fact that Arvind went for rook into c6, it's a admission that something has gone wrong. Because this pawn structure it's a very bad Sicilian defense now. You see the bishop on g7 combining with the pawn on e5, a bad dragon. And in knight off, you just don't develop like this with the bishop on g7, pawn on h5. So whichever way you look at it, it's a bad version for black.
By the way, Ronak is completely winning against Raja. So a much needed point there for him, by the way. So as you can see, his pieces are so active. The black king is, well, lacking decent pawn cover. And yeah, this just looks really bad. The d6 pawn under attack. There's some backracking issues for white, but I don't think there'll be enough counterplay for black to basically have any chances.
Completely agree with you. This should be game over in a few moves. Just c takes d5 maybe.
Yeah.
This one's winning for white. We have a result in one of the games already, Abhimanyu against Mitrapa. Vaishali is just completely better against Divya. And Leon has an interesting question against Arjun Kalyan.
Mm-hmm.
Leon is also someone to watch out for. I think he's just slightly younger than the current generation of prodigies. And probably the next in line.
Yeah, true.
A very talented young boy, not just in chess, but also in mimicking people.
Yeah, I've heard. I still remember Vidit's magical a4 move. Was watching it live. He took his time and found it. Yeah, I mean, rook f6, a4. Like VD was on a roll at the start of this year, and he went to almost 2740 in the live ratings, and then kind of dropped off a little bit. So that's what he wants to do again. In fact, even crossed 2750, and that's why this tournament is important to him. Yeah. So if he can win here, that would basically give him a lot of confidence before he heads off to other tournaments as well. And you have all the Indian youngsters here. So, people are saying that he's not, like, the youngsters are moving faster than VD, and he has a chance to prove it right. He's right there, and he is one of the contenders to still kind of, maybe reach world top 10 someday.
Yeah, I mean, the youngsters are bound to move faster. They are youngsters. I think you have a lot of advantage when you're under 20 in terms of how quickly you can progress towards the field of your choice. There's of course a fundamental difference in just how your brain is shaped. You're a lot more. It's a lot more easier to learn things, make changes, and also the social aspects. You have a lot less things on your plate to worry about. I think it's natural. But secondly, I should also mention that the current generation, Gukesh, Arjun, Prag, Nihal, they're just simply at another level. This is something I was also talking about earlier when Arjun won Arjun won the national championship. Gukesh was in the second place, and we are talking about the seniors and juniors and how well the juniors are doing. But the juniors are simply at a different level, and they're gunning for 2800. Their talent is at a different level, in my opinion, from what I observed.
And also, it's like, I think they had that support, which I think was not possible for the previous generation, so to speak, because nowadays you have, Vishy Anand, who's directly helping you. You have Boris' girlfriend in camps. You have this actual support. Like, support has always been there, but I think it's much more nowadays. There are camps held constantly, and the earlier you get the support, the stronger you can improve. So it's somehow that, of course, like every generation has that benefit, right, from over the previous one. So you learn information quicker with technology and stuff. There were no engines 20 years back, at least not decent ones, to analyze your own openings. You had less courses, less online resources, less YouTube videos. In fact, there was no YouTube content creator, I guess, before 2015, not many at least. So that tells you information becomes easier to grasp. And I mean, we've all seen these movies and read books, right? How old GMs would go to the bookstore and wait for the latest chess magazine to come up, and then, pay for it and take it home and analyze the games. Nowadays, you can have everything at your fingertips. So that changes for every generation.
Absolutely. Every generation has gained a bit from the previous generation and has contributed towards moving one step forward. But there's still hope for the older generation, as shown in the Nihal Adhiban game. Nihal is actually getting outplayed by AD, clearly better endgame.
And also, I think it's also hard for us to call them older generation. I think both are like, I think in that, I think AD is like 30, but the VD is still in his 20s. So I think in most careers, 30 is just the start of the career. So I think I would say, of course, for sports person is different, but they still have maybe more than a decade of amazing play. Like Vishyant became world champion in his late 40s. So I think they'll be playing for a long, long time.
Yeah, that is true. But I think it's really important to get as far as possible by the time you're 20. Most people are the elite. Most of the top players, they're close to 27. They were probably about 2,700 by the time they were 20. And Magnus was about 2,800 when he was 18. I think that makes a lot of difference. After in your 20s to the 30s phase, it's more of a consolidation phase. You become very good at what you already have, but to make those rapid gains, I think that happens in your teenage. That's the best stage for that.
Yeah, we have a lot of examples of rapid gains nowadays, actually, as you've seen, and a lot of Indian youngsters coming up, and I think that's just good news for Indian chess in general.
I think it's a bit like Formula One. In Formula One, you have this qualifiers, and then the race begins based on the qualifier. The teenage phase is like the qualifiers phase. It determines where you enter your starting position in the race, and the race begins in your 20s. So if you're like lagging behind, if you're in at the bottom when you're 20, you're already at a massive disadvantage in the race, and it becomes harder and harder.
True. And somebody saying, Vishy is in 50s and still top 15. Actually, he's in the top 10. He's world number 10 right now, rated 2756. So it's not even top 15. He's world top 10. That's crazy.
Absolutely. Vishy is just amazing. Amazing.
By the way, I think SL is now just dominating the game. He's managed to close the king side to some degree. The G file is closed. And this diagonal that we have from A1 to F6, once the queen gets on this diagonal, then you just press the resign button, I think. Well, although what happened here, was there a mistake? He played this move. Okay, not really, it's fine.
Yeah,
I was
no,
a bit
not
worried
really.
about D4 pawn, yeah? I was a bit worried losing this.
No, I think no, it's okay, I think.
Because that allows me to
SL wouldn't mind.
C3 on a good day.
True, but this might give black leverage to do some queen b6. Rook b8 coming up next. It just felt wrong, this position. Meanwhile, Vidit has got some g4 in the Arvind game, and this game Arvind is really struggling, as you can see from the clock. So when Arvind is comfortable, his moves flow, but when he's in a bad position and he's struggling, then he takes a lot of time and gets into time trouble. And that's the cue for you usually. Rook e8. Now you can't take g into h5 because of queen h3, but you're a couple of moves away from breaking open on the king side, no?
Yeah, just queen g2 here, defending the rook and threatening gh5, and that should be, I guess, dangerous to say the least.
Yeah, looks very strong. Black will need to play something like h into g4 in order to force f into g4 and try for some e4 related counterplay. I think this is what black is counting on. I mean, the e4 related counterplay. So I'm also tempted to consider bishop e4. Because f5 is not really tempting for black anytime in the future. So with this, I think white takes care of a lot of counterplay and threatens to break open the files.
Nicholas is asking, so Srinath, when these youngsters struggle in tournaments, do they equally struggle during practice in finding good moves? Or it's just tournament where they're unable to perform when they struggle?
Which tournament where they are unable to perform in recent history?
No, this is a random question. Like, for example, if they, let's say, struggle in a tournament, is this like limited to tournaments, or is it like also in practice, like you can see the signs of them not performing well?
Okay, in that sense. Yeah, that is the thing. So far with the kids, they have not had a prolonged slump. So I haven't noticed them having the struggle phase, and especially during practice, I don't you don't read a lot actually into how the players are playing, because I think their playing skills is just a lot higher than their ability to solve or something, and the way they train is also very different from the way the previous generation used to train. Yeah, Vidit has just taken the d4 knight, and now he's opening up the g5. I think rook into g4 and h5 incoming.
And somehow the bishop on g7, like you would, like I think black would just love to just pick up that pawn from d4 and throw it away. It's like, is this blocking the bishop and you have no counterplay whatsoever.
Yep, absolutely. That's the bane in black's position. But with rook e5, Arvind is fighting on, temporarily stopping white from playing h5. Still a great position for Vidit though. So Vidit is winning, SL is winning,
Karthikeyan is
and
winning.
Adhiban is also not too far away. Yes, Karthikeyan is winning. Karthikeyan's had a opposite of the previous day. 2 wins. He lost against Leon though.
Yeah, he lost the first 4, I think, and then I think he lost the first 4, and then won 2, and then lost against Leon. Yes.
Yep.
So he would get 3 points today, which is actually decent. I think this yesterday was going to cost him a lot.
Yeah, yesterday I think pretty much ruled him out of contention, but he can still look to get into the top 8, which will ensure qualification to the 4th leg. With it initiating things with f4, rook into d5 taken, and how do you continue the attack here?
Yes, I'm just wondering if I can. So I want to play h5 or f5, yeah. So just to kind of unpin this, but right now you can just maybe even sacrifice an exchange with rook f5 with f5. So that's the
Meanwhile, Roundup has just won his game against Harshit. It just got over. Harshit resigned at this point after the battery.
Yeah, rook d7 is incoming, and I don't see a defense to the queen being lost. Not an easy one, at least. So Ronak having a win, I think Ronak must be really happy with this win. At least will give him confidence coming in tomorrow. He goes to 10 points now. Not sure how many chances he has for first place, but if he can win a lot of games continuously and hope the results go his way, it is still maybe possible. Very important victory for him there.
Yep, absolutely. And Vidit is dominating against Arvind, but I think this is going to go on for a little while, unless there is some bishop at g6 and game over, which I think is some while away. But I think the game of Sham against SL is a lot closer towards the end. Queen e4 check. Strong move by SL, who has had a pretty good day today. A win against Ronak and win against Vidit with the white pieces. A draw against Abhimanyu, and if he wins this game, then that's 3 wins and 1 draw. Still some time for the finish though, no?
Even Sham, win against Vaishali, win against Nihal, win against Adhiban. So pretty impressive day for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning 3 games in a row is impressive for I think anyone in this field at any point.
Now, of course, you don't trade queens, I guess. You just move the queen either to f3 and then...
Yeah, similar games, with the time advantage against Arvind. He's pushing, mating Arvind. And same with SL as well, who is also in the second spot.
By the way, Nihal's game is ended in a draw. They had a repetition, which looks rather fair. I don't know how it happened. Adhiban was, I think, almost cruising at one point, right? And somehow he came back.
Yeah, Adhiban had a really nice position, but I guess it was defensible for white. It was not a large advantage.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
Yeah.
Back to Vidit against Arvind, where Arvind played his last move with 3 seconds remaining.
Wow. It's all about F5 or H5. Which one can I manage somehow? I just want to push somehow. I I think he will sack the exchange, so maybe not just yet.
Yeah, maybe just not yet.
Arvind blundered, somebody saying. I don't think he blundered though. Did he? Unless I'm missing something. His situation seems to be pretty much the same.
Yeah, pretty much the same. What is white's winning strategy here though? Can we
I mean,
do F5?
Yeah, F5 or like I would love to play Rook G5 and stuff, but like just I don't think it helps too much because it just exchanges pieces somehow. And I mean,
yeah, but also
maybe it's a plan.
helps towards
Yeah.
breaking.
Yeah.
Rook G5 looks strong. F5, the problem is it might open up this D pawn, and you don't want to allow this. This is actually the way to lose control with white.
Exactly. And VD is now falling low on time as well. So he needs a plan now. He needs a plan because otherwise what can happen is you can make one mistake and then you lose control. This is an important match, chat, because not only for these two players, because Arvind is so far ahead. If Arvind wins this, then the lead goes to insane proportions. So I think regardless of who you are, depends on who you're rooting for. But I think this game is very important to this tournament standings.
Yeah, and you can clearly see he's calculating, but he has to make a move. And he's gone for Queen F3. A move like F5, it feels like it's crushing, but also feels wrong. So you had to...
Now even more so, yeah,
because
because
not an easy move to make.
Oh, both players close to 10 seconds now. This is going to be very, very important. He plays Rook E1. Okay, interesting choice there. Switching directions.
But Sahil, do you feel that the game has started going out of control?
Yeah, it's like a position where I need some sort of plan or a blow, and I'm not able to play F5. If I can't play F5, then what's my plan? I'm not able to.
Yeah, ultimately, I think you need F5.
Yeah. Oh, he plays it.
You need some time to realize it.
He plays it. But is this the best moment? I'm not sure. Let's see. We'll figure it out, Chad. We'll figure it out as we go along. 4 seconds for Arvind. He takes it with the C rook. Bishop takes. Rook takes.
Do you take on B7? Allow some Rook B5?
No, I don't take on B7. I think I just trade that rook somehow. Maybe Rook F4. And the idea is that somehow Queen Bishop, at least I don't get like, oh, he takes the pawn.
Greedy VD.
Yeah, greedy VD. And now I'm not sure, chat. I am not sure.
I don't think he saw D3.
He complicates stuff. Now it's all in Arvind's hand. Can Arvind somehow clear the battle here? Rook B5 incoming, DC2 check incoming would bring the king into the position. Very interesting. VD plays with 2 seconds of the clock. Now D2. D2. D2.
D2 is super strong because Rook E8 check you just ignore and play king H7.
Oh my God.
And he's gone for it. He's gone for D2.
Oh my God. This is going to turn.
This is over for Vidit. Oh my God.
What a turnaround.
Oh my God.
Arvind Chidambaram is just running
and now
away
Rook
with
B5 and Vidit has to resign.
Oh my God. What an upset here. VD shaking his head. He cannot believe it. And now it's just some discovered
just
check.
all over Rook into C2.
It's just resigns. And what a comeback by Arvind here. He's literally running away with the tournament. Insane match. I think somewhere there, the time pressure caused some sort of issue for VD. He could not find the best move, but insane resilience by Arvind. Yeah, insane resilience.
Absolutely. And kudos to Arvind for just going into this kind of a fight. What do you do when you have a 2-point lead, Sahil? You have black pieces against the first seed. You have a 2-point lead. What do? You try to be safe. You try to, just keep things under control. But Arvind just kept going for it, backed himself. The position was terrible, but he still took the decision, and it paid off for him. And 4 wins out of 4 with the black pieces. It's not a coincidence. It's not an accident. He's been doing this for a long time now, and I think absolute Arvind OP in the chat.
Yeah, just to put things into perspective, he had a draw in the first round against Leon. Since then, he has defeated Surya, Divya, Karthikeyan, Arjun, Ronak, Abhimanyu, and Vidit. That is, I mean, an insane performance. And he's supposed to play tomorrow Sham Sundar, Nihal, Adhiban, SL. And on the final day, he has Vaishali, Mitrabha, and Raja. So final day, he's playing people who are slightly lower rated than the others. So he will have, a chance to basically, get those wins at the end if he needs to. So tomorrow is an all-important day for Arvind, and if anybody wants to stop him at all, because as of now, he's on 22 points. That's insane.
22 out of 24. 5-point lead, and it probably comes to SL Narayanan, who is the closest in position to stop Arvind. He will have the white pieces tomorrow against Vaishali in the first game, and then white against Arvind in the next game, and 3 whites out of 4 games tomorrow. So he's the closest contender out there for the closest competition for Arvind, who has some pretty strong games tomorrow as well. So. Yeah. Still some fight remaining, but this is a massive lead. And also the way he's playing Sahil, does it look like his opponents have any chances?
I think so still. I think because, he's not lost a single game. So we've not seen him face that pressure in this tournament, like of a loss. I think what we saw basically was Nihal losing a couple of games, really losing like 3 in a row actually. So, or 3 games today. And it kind of really... completely turns the tide around. So we'll have to see if he faces some stiff competition in the earlier rounds tomorrow, and that might change things. But for now, he will end day 2 with just a clear lead of 5 points.
Yep. And a few other live games going on. There is the game between Vaishali and Divya going in time trouble, but not a lot to cheer for in Divya's position. Her king is under siege, and she has far too few pieces to protect herself. So this will require some kind of a miracle, but with Rook D2, Vaishali shuts off all dreams of black counterplay.
Yep. On the other game, Karthikeyan is also completely winning. So I think we'll have 2 more white wins. And then it will be very interesting to look at the final standings.
Yeah, although I think we have a picture of the final standings already. Yeah? It's Arvind versus the rest of the world.
Yeah, true.
The winner of this plays earns a spot in the Champion Chess Tour. And I'm really curious. Now I'm starting to wonder if anyone at all from here can stop Arvind, or it's going to have to be Magnus Carlsen in the Champion Chess Tour.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody expected this sort of destruction. Yeah, I mean, what he has done is just insane. And although as a spectator, I would love to see a closely contested tournament. So I would love to see some drama. We chess players love drama, as you've seen in recent times. But for that, he needs to at least lose a couple of games. Yeah, otherwise he's just running away.
Yeah. As I said, I think it comes down to the game of SL. SL is the closest who can get towards Arvind. Everyone else quite a bit far behind. And Leon has made a draw against Arjun Kalyan. So I think he has 5 draws? If there is some kind of an Anish Giri award.
Leon is ranked 4th right now with 14 points in total.
Yeah, the format is very unforgiving to solid Oh yeah, we have results in all the games. Vaishali winning her game against Divya, Karthikeyan winning against Surya Ganguly, and that's all the games for today.
Yeah,
That's
I
all the
think it's
rounds for
time to
today.
look at the standings. Yeah, it will be very exciting to see who will be the guys who can catch up. So it's SL first of all. As we mentioned, SL's game is still remaining against Arvind, so that's definitely important. And then you have Mitraba Guha, by the way, ranked third. Very impressive performance.
Yes, absolutely. He's been quietly just advancing, and it's a pretty good score after 8 rounds with 15 points. Although some pretty interesting games coming up. Yeah, Arvind I think still has to play against SL Narayanan. He has to play against Mitraba, and a pretty good day for AD as well. The Beast.
True, true, true.
A pretty
Well,
decent day, I must say.
And I think as we have seen with it losing 3 games, it can completely turn around. He was on a perfect score after day 1, and day 2 it just changed completely. So we cannot be sure yet, but I think for now after day 2, Arvind seems to be in command of this tournament, crushing almost everyone. And tomorrow will basically let us know the truth. Yeah, will somebody come back, or will Arvind just decide the tournament tomorrow itself? It is possible, but yeah, of course, top 8 rankings also matter. So there's all to play for regardless.
Yeah, and of course, the all important games, Black Pieces against Nihal, Black Pieces against SL. He will have to overcome that. Tomorrow is going to be a different day. And as we saw yesterday, Karthikeyan lost all 4 games, but he came back and had a pretty decent day, 3 out of 4. Sham Sundar starting off with 3 losses out of the first 4 games and then 3 wins. So having that overnight rest will change a lot. Pretty unfortunate days for Nihal as well as Vidit today. Nihal started off with that game against Vidit, after which he got into a tilt. His tournament pretty much got destroyed, and almost as if Vidit stepped on a curse, because he lost the next 3 games after that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, even if you win 4 games in a day, that's like 12 points. And Nihal right now is on 10. So even if Arvind were to lose all 4 games and Nihal wins 4, it's still a 12 point. Like, they just come to the same number of points. So that's how much of a lead Arvind has right now. It's just insane.
Yep. Absolutely. It's been Arvind's day all throughout, and that's been the story of day 2 of third leg of MPL Indian Chess Tour. Chat, what do you think? Is Arvind going to be stopped in the next 2 days? Is SL going to hit back? We'll see all of that on day 3 tomorrow on the same time. And I'll leave the final words to you, Sahil.
Thanks, Ashri. It was a lot of fun today. I think some results we could not have expected, regardless of how much prepared we were. And that just tells us we cannot really predict what will happen tomorrow. So we'll wait for day 3 to basically let us know more information. A lot of exciting games coming up. And chat, I think we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Srinath, for joining us. And thank you, everybody in the chat. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.